3 in the morning. Desperate knocking. Behind the door stands a woman whose face has been on magazine covers, now trembling and barely holding herself together. Nathan Cole doesn't know her name yet, doesn't know she's a CEO, doesn't know she's been running from a man who won't accept that it's over. All he knows is that someone needs help, and he's the only one awake to give it. That single decision, to open his door at 3 a.m., will change everything. Stay with me until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The knock came again, harder this time. Nathan Cole jerked awake, his heart already racing before his brain caught up. The digital clock on his nightstand glowed 3:17 a.m. in angry red numbers. For a moment he lay frozen, listening. Maybe he'd imagined it. Maybe it was just the building settling, or someone stumbling home drunk and hitting the wrong door. Then it came again. 3 sharp raps, urgent and uneven. He swung his legs out of bed, pulling on the sweatpants he'd left crumpled on the floor. The apartment was dark except for the nightlight in the hallway, the one he kept on for Emma, even though his daughter was spending the weekend at his ex-wife's place. Old habits. Nathan moved quietly through the living room, avoiding the coffee table he'd bruised his shin on twice already this month. Through the peephole, he could see a woman standing in the poorly lit hallway. Her hair was pulled back messily, and even through the distorted fisheye lens, he could see she was shaking. His hand hesitated on the deadbolt. He'd lived in this building for 4 years, kept to himself mostly, nodded at neighbors in the elevator. He didn't know most of their names, and they didn't know his. That was how he liked it. Simple, uncomplicated, safe. Please. Her voice came through the door, thin and cracking. I'm sorry. I know it's late. I need help. Nathan unlocked the door and pulled it open, keeping the chain latched. Up close, she looked worse than he'd thought. Her eyes were red-rimmed, makeup smudged beneath them. She wore what looked like expensive clothes, a silk blouse, tailored pants, but they were wrinkled, like she'd been wearing them for days. Her hands were trembling so badly she had them pressed together, white-knuckled. I'm Clara, she said quickly. I live downstairs. 4B. I'm sorry to bother you. I just didn't know where else to go. What's wrong? Nathan asked, keeping his voice low. Clara glanced over her shoulder toward the stairwell, then back at him. My ex, he's been outside my apartment. He left about 20 minutes ago, but I can't stay down there, not tonight. I just need somewhere safe for a few hours, please. I'll leave first thing in the morning. Nathan had read enough news stories to know this could be anything. A scam. A setup. Some kind of trouble he didn't want anywhere near his life or his daughter. The smart move was to tell her to call the police and close the door. But her fear wasn't manufactured. He'd seen plenty of fake emotions in his life. His ex-wife had been excellent at them. And this wasn't that. This was real. He slid the chain free and opened the door wider. Come in. Clara stepped inside quickly, like she was afraid he'd change his mind. Nathan closed the door behind her and threw both locks, then the deadbolt. She stood in his entryway, arms wrapped around herself, looking lost. Thank you, she whispered. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Stop apologizing, Nathan said. He moved past her into the kitchen and filled a glass with water from the tap. Here, sit down. She took the glass but didn't drink, just held it with both hands like it was something to anchor herself to. Nathan pulled out one of the kitchen chairs and waited until she sat before taking the seat across from her. You want to tell me what happened? Clara stared at the water glass. We broke up 3 months ago. I thought he'd accepted it, but he keeps showing up. At my office, outside my building. Tonight he was at my door calling my phone over and over. I didn't answer. I never answer anymore. But he wouldn't leave. Did you call the police? I did, last week, and the week before that. Her voice was flat, exhausted. They came. Talked to him. Told him to leave, he always does, then he comes back. Nathan rubbed his face. He needed coffee for this conversation, but it was 3 in the morning and he'd already let a stranger into his apartment. Coffee felt like committing to something bigger. Where is he now? I don't know. He left around 3. I watched through the peephole until I couldn't see him anymore. Then I ran upstairs. I couldn't stay in that apartment, not alone. Does he have a key? No, I changed the locks after we broke up. Good, Nathan said. He should probably ask more questions. Should probably figure out exactly what kind of situation he'd just invited into his home. But Clara looked like she was about to shatter, and he didn't think she could handle an interrogation right now. You can stay here tonight, he told her. I've got a couch. It's not much, but it's safe. Something in her face crumpled. Relief, or maybe just the release of holding herself together for too long. Thank you. Really. I'll be gone before you wake up. Don't worry about it. Nathan stood and grabbed a blanket from the hallway closet, along with a pillow that had seen better days. When he came back, Clara was still sitting at the table, staring at nothing. Bathroom's down the hall if you need it, he said, setting the pillow and blanket on the couch. I'm a light sleeper, so if you hear anything or need anything, just knock. Clara nodded, but didn't move. Nathan hesitated in the doorway of his bedroom. You're going to be okay. She looked up at him then, and for the first time since she'd knocked on his door, something like strength flickered in her eyes. I know, she said quietly. Nathan didn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the building's nighttime sounds, water running through pipes, someone's TV humming faintly through the walls, the occasional creak of settling wood. At some point he heard Clara move from the kitchen to the couch, heard the rustle of the blanket, then silence. He kept thinking about the way she'd looked over her shoulder before stepping into his apartment, like she expected someone to grab her from behind. When his alarm went off at 6:30, Nathan dragged himself out of bed and pulled on a t-shirt. He found Clara already awake, sitting on the edge of the couch with the blanket folded neatly beside her. She'd fixed her hair and wiped away yesterday's makeup. She looked more composed than she had in the middle of the night, but the exhaustion was still there, carved into the lines around her eyes. Morning, Nathan said. Good morning. Thank you again for letting me stay. I should get out of your way. You want coffee first? Clara hesitated. I don't want to impose. You're not. Nathan moved into the kitchen and started the coffee maker. It was old and loud, sputtering and hissing like it was personally offended by having to work this early. How'd you sleep? I didn't really. Yeah, me neither. The coffee maker finished its dramatic performance and Nathan poured 2 mugs, sliding one across the counter to Clara. She wrapped her hands around it the same way she'd held the water glass last night. I'm Nathan, by the way, he said. Don't think I actually introduced myself. Clara Bennett. She took a careful sip of coffee. I feel like I should explain, you don't have to. I want to. Clara set the mug down. I'm not usually like this. I don't fall apart. I run a company, I make decisions that affect hundreds of people, and I'm good at it. But with him, with Marcus, I just keep making the wrong choices. Leaving him wasn't the wrong choice. No, but staying with him as long as I did was. She looked away. I kept thinking I could manage it, that if I was just clearer, more firm, he'd understand. But he doesn't want to understand. He wants control. Nathan thought about his own divorce, the months of arguments and lawyers and fighting over custody schedules. It had been ugly, but it had ended. Papers signed, agreements made, life moved forward. This was different. This was someone who refused to let the ending happen. What are you going to do? He asked. I don't know. I've talked to lawyers. They say I need more evidence for a restraining order, documented incidents, police reports that show a pattern. Clara's voice went tight, but every time he shows up, he's just standing there, calling me, knocking on my door. Nothing that looks violent enough on paper, but it feels violent. Yes, she met his eyes. It feels like he's trying to break me down, prove that I can't actually escape him. Nathan didn't know what to say to that. His life had been carefully constructed around avoiding exactly this kind of complication. After the divorce, after the custody battle, after all of it, he'd built walls, kept things simple, focused on Emma and work, and the small, predictable rhythms of single parenthood. Getting involved in someone else's crisis went against every instinct he'd developed over the past 3 years. You should document everything, he said finally. Keep a log, dates, times, what he said, what he did. Even if it doesn't seem like enough, write it down. Clara nodded slowly. My lawyer said the same thing. And change your routine. Don't leave your apartment at the same time every day. Don't park in the same spot. Make yourself harder to predict. That's good advice. She looked at him curiously. You sound like you've thought about this before. I watch a lot of true crime documentaries. It was meant to be a joke, but Clara didn't smile. Nathan cleared his throat and took a long drink of coffee. Look, he said, I'm upstairs if you need anything. I mean that. If he shows up again and you're scared, just come knock. Doesn't matter what time it is. I can't keep doing that to you. Yeah, you can. Clara studied him for a long moment, like she was trying to figure out what kind of person offers help to a stranger at 3 a.m. Nathan wondered the same thing about himself. I should go, she said finally, standing up. I have a meeting at 9. Nathan walked her to the door and unlocked the deadbolt. Clara stepped into the hallway, then turned back. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you let me in? You didn't know me. You had no reason to trust me. Nathan thought about it. You needed help. That was reason enough. Clara smiled, small and sad. Not everyone would see it that way. Yeah, well, I'm not everyone. After she left, Nathan stood in his apartment listening to her footsteps fade down the stairwell. Then he locked the door, poured himself another cup of coffee, and tried to convince himself that this was the end of it. A one-time thing. A good deed done, no further involvement necessary. He almost believed it. 3 days passed. Nathan went to work, picked up Emma from school, helped her with homework, made dinner, read bedtime stories, and did all the other things that made up his carefully organized life. He didn't see Clara. Didn't hear anything from the apartment below his. Maybe it was over. Maybe the ex had finally gotten the message and moved on. Then, on Thursday night, Nathan was putting away dishes when he heard it, shouting, muffled by distance and walls, but unmistakable. A man's voice, angry and insistent. Then silence. Then the shouting again, louder this time. Nathan dried his hands on a dish towel and walked to his door. He pressed his ear against it, listening. The voice was coming from downstairs, from Clara's apartment. He should call the police. That was the rational thing to do. Let the professionals handle it. Instead, Nathan grabbed his phone and headed for the stairwell. The shouting got clearer as he descended. He could make out words now. Open the door and just talk to me and stop being ridiculous. The voice carried the particular edge of someone who thought they were being reasonable, who genuinely believed they were the victim in this situation. Nathan reached the 4th floor and saw him immediately. A man in his mid-30s wearing a button-down shirt and slacks like he'd just come from the office. He was standing in front of Clara's door, one hand braced against the frame, the other holding his phone. Clara, I know you're in there, he was saying. Your car's in the garage, just open the door. 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking. Nathan pulled out his phone and started recording. The man, Marcus, Nathan assumed, kept talking. I'm not leaving until we talk. I'll stand here all night if I have to. You can't avoid me forever. She can try. Nathan's voice cut across the hallway. Marcus spun around, startled. Who the hell are you? I live here, and you're disturbing the entire floor. This is none of your business. Marcus's face flushed red. This is between me and my girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend, Nathan corrected. And it became my business when you started shouting at 3 a.m. last week. Marcus's eyes narrowed. You're the one she ran to, the neighbor. He said it like an accusation, like Nathan had committed some kind of betrayal. Yeah, and I'm telling you to leave. I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm standing in a hallway, public space. Nathan kept his phone steady, still recording. You're harassing someone who's made it clear she doesn't want contact with you. That's not public space. That's stalking. Stalking? Marcus laughed, sharp and bitter. I'm trying to have a conversation with someone I spent 2 years with, someone who won't even give me the courtesy of explaining what I did wrong. She doesn't owe you an explanation. You don't know anything about our relationship. I know enough. They stared at each other. Nathan was taller, but Marcus had the build of someone who worked out regularly and took pride in it. The kind of guy who settled arguments with his physical presence when words didn't work. Nathan didn't move. You should go, he said again, quieter this time. Marcus looked at Nathan's phone, still recording. Something shifted in his expression, calculation replacing anger. He stepped back from Clara's door and straightened his collar. Fine. Tell Clara I came by. Tell her I just want to talk. That's all I've ever wanted. He walked past Nathan toward the stairs, moving with deliberate slowness, making sure Nathan knew he was choosing to leave rather than being forced out. Nathan waited until he heard the stairwell door close. Then he waited another 2 minutes, listening. When he was sure Marcus was gone, he knocked gently on Clara's door. It's Nathan. He's gone. The door opened a crack, chain still latched. Clara's face appeared in the gap, pale and tight. Did he see you? Yeah. What did you say to him? Told him to leave. He did, eventually. Nathan held up his phone. I got it on video, the whole thing. Clara closed her eyes briefly. Thank you. You want me to send it to you for your documentation? Please. Nathan texted her the video, then slipped his phone back into his pocket. Claire was still standing behind the chained door, like she didn't trust the hallway enough to open it completely. Has he done this before? Nathan asked. The showing up and demanding to talk thing? Twice last week, 3 times the week before. It's getting worse. You need to file another police report. I know, I will. Tomorrow. Do it tonight, while it's fresh. While you have the video. Clara nodded, but Nathan could see the exhaustion in her face. The weight of having to explain herself again, to relive it again, to convince strangers that her fear was legitimate. I can come with you, he heard himself say. To the police station, if you want. Clara looked surprised. You don't have to do that. I know. She studied him through the gap in the door. Why are you helping me? It was the second time she'd asked him something like that. Nathan still didn't have a good answer. Because someone should, he said finally. They went to the police station at 8 o'clock that night. Nathan had called his ex-wife and asked if she could keep Emma for an extra night. Rachel had been suspicious. He never asked for schedule changes, but she'd agreed after he explained it was an emergency. He didn't tell her what kind. The police station was exactly as depressing as Nathan expected. Fluorescent lights, scuffed linoleum floors, the smell of bad coffee, and industrial cleaner. They sat in hard plastic chairs while they waited for someone to take Clara's statement. You really didn't have to come, Clara said for the 3rd time. You already said that. I know, I'm not used to this. Used to what? People helping, without wanting something in return. Nathan glanced at her. What do you think I want? I don't know. That's what worries me. But she said it with a slight smile, like she was testing whether humor still worked after a night like this. A detective called them back eventually, a woman in her 40s with tired eyes and a notepad that had seen better days. She listened to Clara's story, watched Nathan's video, and took down all the relevant information with the mechanical efficiency of someone who'd heard versions of the same story 100 times before. We'll file the report, the detective said when Clara finished, and we'll send an officer to have a conversation with Mr. Torrance. But I'll be honest with you, unless he makes a direct threat or becomes physically violent, there's not much we can do. He showed up at my apartment at 11 at night, Clara said. He's been doing it for weeks. I understand, and it's all documented now, but standing in a hallway isn't illegal. Making phone calls isn't illegal. You'll need to gather more evidence if you want a restraining order. How much more evidence? The detective's expression softened slightly. Enough to establish a pattern of behavior that makes you fear for your safety. The video helps. Keep documenting everything, every call, every visit, every interaction. And if he escalates, if he threatens you or tries to force his way in, call 911 immediately. Clara nodded, but Nathan could see the frustration in the set of her shoulders. They left the station 40 minutes later with a case number and a photocopy of the police report. The night air was cold, and Clara pulled her jacket tighter around herself. That was useless, she said. It wasn't useless. You have documentation now. That's what your lawyer said you needed. Right, documentation, so I can prove I'm scared enough to deserve protection. Clara's voice went sharp. You know what the worst part is? Marcus is smart. He knows exactly how far he can push before it becomes something the police will actually act on. He's done this before. Nathan stopped walking. What do you mean, before? His last girlfriend. I didn't know about it when we first started dating. She tried to warn me, actually. Sent me a message on social media. I thought she was just bitter. Clara laughed, bitter herself now. Turns out she was trying to save me a lot of trouble. They reached Nathan's car, a 7-year-old sedan with a car seat in the back and Emma's forgotten backpack on the floor. He unlocked it, and they both got in. Where did you meet him? Nathan asked, starting the engine. At a conference. He worked in finance. I was giving a talk on market disruption. He seemed charming, confident, interested in what I had to say. Clara stared out the window. All the things that seemed attractive at first turned out to be warning signs. The confidence was control. The interest was obsession. By the time I figured it out, I was already in too deep. Nathan pulled out of the parking lot and headed back toward their building. How long were you together? 2 years. It took me 1.5 years to realize how bad it was, and another 6 months to actually leave. What made you finally do it? Claire was quiet for a long moment. He went through my phone while I was sleeping, read all my messages, my emails, everything. When I confronted him about it, he said it was my fault for giving him reasons not to trust me. That's when I knew it wasn't going to get better. That's when I knew I had to get out. Nathan thought about his own marriage, the fights, the resentment, the slow erosion of everything they'd built together. It had been painful, but it had never been this. Rachel had never made him afraid. I'm sorry, he said. Don't be. I made my choices. Now I'm dealing with the consequences. This isn't a consequence. This is him refusing to let you move on. That's on him, not you. Clara looked at him, something unreadable in her expression. You're very sure about that. Yeah, I am. They drove the rest of the way in silence. When they pulled into the building's garage, Nathan saw Clara scan the parking level before getting out of the car, looking for Marcus's vehicle, looking for threats. He walked her to her apartment door and waited while she unlocked it. Thank you, Clara said, for tonight, for all of it. Lock your door and call me if you need anything. I don't have your number. Nathan pulled out his phone and they exchanged numbers. Clara saved his contact, then looked up at him. I mean it. Thank you. Stop thanking me. She smiled, the first real smile he'd seen from her. Okay, but I'm still grateful. Nathan waited until she was inside with the door locked before heading upstairs. When he got back to his apartment, he found himself checking his own locks twice, then a third time. He sat on his couch in the dark, thinking about Clara downstairs, alone in an apartment that no longer felt safe. Thinking about Marcus, who knew where she lived and didn't care that he wasn't wanted. Nathan's phone buzzed, a text from Clara. Are you awake? He replied immediately. Yeah. Everything okay? Can I ask you something? Sure. A pause. Then, why are you really doing this? You have your own life, a daughter. This isn't your problem. Nathan stared at the message. He thought about all the easy answers he could give, the polite deflections, the way he could minimize his involvement and make it seem like less than it was. Instead, he typed, maybe I'm tired of people looking the other way. Another pause. Longer this time. That's a good answer, Clara finally replied. Get some sleep, Nathan sent back. You too. He didn't sleep, but he stayed awake differently than before, not with anxiety, but with purpose. Like he'd committed to something he couldn't take back and wasn't sure he wanted to. The next 2 weeks developed a pattern. Nathan would get home from work, pick up Emma from after-school care, help her with homework, and make dinner. Normal life. But he found himself listening more carefully to the sounds from the apartment below. Footsteps, doors opening and closing, anything that seemed off. 3 times Marcus showed up. Twice Nathan heard him through the floor, shouting at Clara's door. Once he saw him in the parking garage, sitting in his car watching the building entrance. Each time Nathan documented it. Photos, videos, timestamps. He sent everything to Clara, who added it to the growing file her lawyer was building. They started texting regularly. Small things at first. He's here again or just got home safe, then longer conversations. Clara would ask about Emma, and Nathan would find himself telling stories about his daughter's latest obsession with dinosaurs, or her ongoing war with vegetables. Clara would share pieces of her work life, the stress of running a company, the impossible balance of appearing strong while feeling hunted. On Friday night, 2 weeks after that first knock on his door, Nathan's phone rang at 11:30. Claire's name on the screen. He answered immediately. "What's wrong?" "He's outside my door again." Her voice was steady, but Nathan could hear the fear underneath. "I called the police, but they said it would be at least 20 minutes. I wanted someone to know, in case anything happens. I'm coming down." "Nathan, don't. If he sees you again." But Nathan was already moving, phone pressed to his ear, pulling on shoes. "Stay on the line with me. Don't open the door." "I won't." He could hear Marcus through the phone now, muffled but clear enough. "Clara, this is ridiculous. I'm not leaving until you talk to me. You're being childish." Nathan took the stairs 2 at a time. When he reached the 4th floor, he saw Marcus in the same position as before, hand braced against Clara's door, phone in the other hand, looking like a man who genuinely believed he was the reasonable one. "Still not getting the message?" Nathan said. Marcus turned, and Nathan saw recognition flare in his eyes, followed immediately by anger. "You again. You're really making this your business, aren't you?" "Someone has to. She put you up to this, told you some sob story about how I'm the bad guy." Nathan pulled out his phone and started recording. "I'm not having this conversation. Leave or I'm calling the police." "They won't do anything. I'm standing in a hallway, not breaking any laws." "Harassment is a law." Marcus stepped away from Clara's door, moving toward Nathan instead. "You know what I think? I think you're trying to play hero so you can get close to her. I think you saw an opportunity and you're taking advantage." Nathan didn't respond. He kept his phone steady, kept recording. "That's it, isn't it?" Marcus was smiling now, ugly and sharp. "You're not being a good neighbor. You're trying to fuck her. You need to leave." "Or what? You going to make me?" Marcus took another step closer. "You think you're protecting her? You think you know her better than I do? I spent 2 years with Clara. I know who she really is. And trust me, whatever she's told you about me, it's a lie. I believe her version more than yours." Something flickered across Marcus's face. Surprise, maybe, that someone would take Clara's word over his. Then the anger came back, harder. "You're making a mistake," Marcus said quietly. "Getting involved in something that has nothing to do with you. Clara and I, we have history. We have a connection. You're just some random guy who lives upstairs. You think that matters?" "I think you should leave before the police get here." As if on cue, Nathan heard sirens in the distance. Marcus heard them too. His expression shifted again. Frustration now, and calculation. "Tell Clara this isn't over," he said. "Tell her I'll be back. I'll always be back. She can't hide from me forever." He walked past Nathan toward the stairwell, shoulder-checking him hard enough to make Nathan stumble. Nathan caught himself and kept recording until Marcus disappeared through the door. Then he knocked on Clara's apartment. "It's me. He's gone." The door opened immediately. Clara looked shaken but composed, already pulling herself back together. "I heard what he said to you. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Don't apologize for him." Nathan sent her the video. "Add it to the file." "I will." Clara leaned against the doorframe. "The police are on their way. You don't have to stay." "I'll stay until they get here." They stood in the hallway together, not talking, just waiting. When the police arrived, 2 officers, both young and looking like they'd rather be anywhere else, Nathan and Clara gave their statements, showed the video, provided the case number from the previous report. The officers took notes, promised to follow up with Marcus, and left with the same warnings the detective had given. Document everything. Call immediately if he escalates. Consider a restraining order if the pattern continues. After they were gone, Clara turned to Nathan. "This is getting worse." "I know. I don't know how to make it stop." Nathan didn't have an answer for that. He wanted to tell her it would be okay, that Marcus would eventually give up, that the system would protect her, but he'd spent enough time in the real world to know those were empty promises. "You're not alone in this," he said instead. "That's something." Clara's eyes went bright with unshed tears. She blinked them back. "I should let you get some sleep. Call me if you need anything." "I always need something lately. I'm starting to feel like I'm using you." You're not. How do you know? Because using someone means you're taking without caring about the cost. You care. I can tell. Clara looked at him for a long moment. Then, impulsively, she stepped forward and hugged him. It was quick, awkward, the kind of hug someone gives when they're not used to accepting comfort. But it was genuine. "Thank you," she whispered. Nathan hugged her back, careful and brief. "Get some sleep, Clara." He went back upstairs and stood in his apartment, listening to the silence. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. "I'm sorry you're caught up in this." "I'm not caught up in anything," he replied. "I made a choice." "Why, though?" "Really? You could just ignore this." Most people would. Nathan thought about it, about his marriage falling apart and the months of lawyers and arguments, about the custody evaluations, and the judge who'd looked at him like he was a problem to be managed, rather than a parent trying to do right by his kid, about all the times he'd felt powerless and alone and like the system was designed to grind him down. He typed, "Because someone helped me once when I needed it. Maybe it's my turn to do the same." Clara's response came quickly. "Who helped you?" "My neighbor, actually, when I was going through my divorce. She watched Emma when I had to meet with lawyers. Brought us dinner when I was too exhausted to cook. Didn't ask questions or judge, just showed up." "What was her name?" "Mrs. Chen. She moved to Portland 2 years ago to be closer to her grandkids. I'd like to thank her someday," Clara sent. "She'd probably tell you to pay it forward." "Okay, I will." Nathan set his phone down and finally allowed himself to think about what he'd been avoiding for 2 weeks. He was getting attached. To Clara's situation, yes, but also to Clara herself. To the careful way she held herself together even when she was falling apart. To her sharp mind and her refusal to be a victim even while being victimized. It was complicated and messy, and exactly the kind of thing he'd promised himself he'd avoid after the divorce. But when his phone buzzed again with another message from Clara, "Good night, and thank you again," he smiled anyway. "Good night," he sent back. Then he went to bed and actually slept, knowing that one floor below, Clara was doing the same. The next morning, Nathan woke to Emma jumping on his bed at 7:30, her blonde hair wild and her dinosaur pajamas inside out. "Dad! Dad! You said we could go to the Science Museum today!" He groaned and pulled a pillow over his face. "I said maybe, and it's Saturday. Sleeping in is a thing that exists. You've been sleeping in. It's almost 8 o'clock. Emma, it's 7:30. That's basically 8. Nathan gave up and sat up, rubbing his eyes. Emma immediately crawled into his lap, her 6-year-old energy levels already at maximum capacity. "Did you know that velociraptors were actually only about 3 feet tall?" She informed him seriously. "Not like in the movies. The movies lied to us, Dad." "That's very disappointing." "I know, but they were still cool. Can we go see the dinosaur exhibit?" Nathan looked at his daughter, at her bright eyes and the gap where she'd lost her first tooth last week, and felt the weight of everything settle on him differently. This was what mattered. This uncomplicated love. This simple need to see dinosaur bones on a Saturday morning. "Yes, he said. "We can go. After breakfast." Emma cheered and launched herself off the bed, racing toward the kitchen. Nathan followed more slowly, still half asleep. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Clara. "Is it too early to ask a favor?" He picked it up and typed back. "Depends on the favor. My landlord wants to meet with me Monday morning about concerns regarding recent police visits to the property. I think he's going to try to kick me out. Can you be there as a witness?" Nathan stared at the message. A witness to what, exactly? But he already knew the answer. A witness to the fact that Clara wasn't the problem, that she wasn't causing trouble, that she was the one being harassed. "What time?" he sent back. 9. "I know it's asking a lot. I'll be there. Thank you. I'll buy you coffee after." "You don't have to do that. I want to." Nathan set his phone down and went to make breakfast. Emma wanted pancakes shaped like dinosaurs, which was beyond his artistic abilities, but he did his best. They came out looking more like lumpy clouds, but Emma declared them perfect anyway. "Who are you texting?" she asked, drowning her pancakes in syrup. "A friend." "What friend? You don't have friends." "I have friends." "Name one." Emma looked at him challengingly, syrup on her chin. Nathan opened his mouth, then closed it. She had a point. After the divorce, he'd let most of his friendships drift. It was easier that way. Less explaining, less sympathy, less questions about how he was holding up. Mrs. Chen was my friend, he said. Mrs. Chen moved away. That doesn't count. Emma took an enormous bite of pancake. Is it a lady friend? Where did you learn that phrase? Mom said you should get a lady friend. She said you're too serious all the time. Nathan made a mental note to have a conversation with Rachel about what she discussed with their daughter. Mom doesn't know what she's talking about. So it is a lady friend. Eat your breakfast, Emma. She grinned at him, triumphant in the way only 6-year-olds can be when they think they've uncovered a secret. Nathan didn't bother correcting her. Let her think what she wanted. It was simpler than explaining that Clara was just someone who needed help, and he was just someone who couldn't look away. They spent the day at the museum. Emma dragged him through every exhibit, narrating facts about dinosaurs with the confidence of someone who'd watched every documentary ever made. Nathan followed, taking pictures on his phone, trying to be present in this moment instead of thinking about Monday morning. But his mind kept drifting. To Clara sitting across from her landlord, defending herself for being harassed in her own home. To Marcus, who seemed to get worse every time Nathan saw him. To the growing pile of evidence that never seemed like quite enough. Dad, you're not listening, Emma said, tugging his hand. Sorry, sweetheart. What were you saying? I said the T-Rex couldn't actually roar like in the movies. Scientists think it probably made more of a deep rumbling sound. Like this. Beat always. She demonstrated, making a noise that was somewhere between a growl and a burp. Nathan laughed. That's terrifying. I know, Emma beamed. Want to hear it again? They stayed until the museum closed at 5. On the drive home, Emma fell asleep in her car seat, exhausted from a day of learning about extinct reptiles. Nathan carried her up to the apartment and tucked her into bed, still wearing her shoes. His phone buzzed. Clara again. Are you home? Just got back. Why? Marcus just left. He was here for an hour. I have it all on video, but I don't want to be alone right now. Can I come up? Nathan looked at Emma, asleep in her room. Having Clara over with his daughter here felt like crossing a line he hadn't crossed yet, mixing the parts of his life he'd worked hard to keep separate. But the alternative was telling Clara no, leaving her alone in an apartment that felt less safe every day. Give me 10 minutes, he sent. He checked on Emma, still asleep, then straightened up the living room, which looked like a tornado had hit it. Dinosaur books everywhere, Emma's backpack spilling crayons across the floor, a half-finished art project involving way too much glitter. The knock came exactly 10 minutes later, soft, tentative. Nathan opened the door and Clara stepped inside quickly, glancing over her shoulder like she expected Marcus to appear from nowhere. She looked exhausted, different from the fear exhaustion of that first night. This was deeper. The kind of tired that came from fighting too long with no end in sight. I'm sorry, she said immediately. I know you have Emma this weekend. I shouldn't have. It's fine. She's asleep. Claire looked around the apartment, taking in the chaos. A small smile touched her lips. She likes dinosaurs? She's obsessed. Has been for 6 months. Before that, it was planets. I'm hoping her next phase is something quieter. How old is she, Pio? 6. Just started first grade. That must be hard. Doing it alone. Nathan shrugged. You figure it out. What happened tonight? Clara's smile faded. She pulled out her phone and showed him the video. An hour of Marcus standing outside her door, calling her name, leaving voicemails that Nathan could hear playing through the door. I love you. Why are you doing this to us? Just talk to me. I can't believe you're being this unreasonable. The same words, over and over. Different variations, same theme. Marcus as the victim. Clara as the one causing problems. Did you call the police, Bossum? Nathan asked. What's the point? They'll show up an hour after he leaves, take a report, tell me there's nothing they can do. I already know how it goes. Clara sat down on the couch, careful to avoid the glitter. My landlord called me yesterday. Said other tenants have complained about the disturbances. Said I need to resolve my personal issues or he'll have to reconsider my lease. That's illegal. He can't evict you for being harassed. He can evict me for causing disturbances. That's how he'll frame it. Not that I'm being harassed, that I'm creating a situation that's affecting other residents. Nathan sat down across from her. What did your lawyer say? That we can fight it, but it'll take time. And in the meantime, I'm living somewhere I don't feel safe. Clara looked at him. I'm thinking about moving, just finding a new place, starting over. Will that stop him? Probably not, but at least I won't have a landlord threatening to kick me out on top of everything else. When's your meeting with him? Monday at 9. I want documentation that I'm not the problem, that I've done everything right. That's why I asked if you could be there. I'll be there, Nathan said, and I'll explain exactly what I've witnessed. How Marcus is the one causing the disturbances, not you. Thank you. Clara leaned back against the couch, closing her eyes. I'm so tired of this. I'm tired of being scared in my own home, tired of looking over my shoulder every time I park my car, tired of second-guessing every decision I make in case it gives him another opportunity to show up. Nathan didn't know what to say. He'd never been in this situation. Never had someone refused to let go, refused to accept that it was over. His divorce had been painful, but it had been mutual. Both of them acknowledging that what they'd built had fallen apart. How did you know? Clara asked suddenly, opening her eyes. With your ex-wife. How did you know it was over? Nathan thought about it. We stopped trying. That was the moment. When we both realized we were just going through the motions and neither of us wanted to put in the work to fix it. Was it hard? Yeah. But it was also a relief. Like we'd both been holding our breath, waiting for permission to let go, and finally we gave it to each other. Marcus won't give me permission, Clara said quietly. That's the problem. He thinks if he just keeps trying, if he just wears me down enough, I'll come back. And the worst part is, I did come back, twice. Early on, before I really understood what was happening. He'd apologize, promise to change, and I'd believe him. So now he thinks it'll work again. But it won't. No, it won't. But he doesn't believe that. They sat in silence for a while. Nathan could hear Emma's white noise machine humming from her bedroom. Outside, a car alarm went off, then stopped. Can I ask you something? Claire said. Sure. Why did your marriage end, really? Not the we stopped trying version, the real version. Nathan hesitated. He didn't talk about this. Not with friends, the few he had left. Not with family. Not with anyone. But something about the late hour and the weight of Claire's honesty made him want to match it. She had an affair, he said. Not a long one. Just a few months. But long enough. When I found out, she said it was because I'd stopped seeing her, that I was so focused on work and being a dad that I'd forgotten how to be a husband. That's not an excuse. No, but it wasn't entirely wrong either. I did pull away. After Emma was born, I got so caught up in doing everything right, being the perfect dad, the provider, the stable one, that I forgot Rachel needed me too. Nathan looked down at his hands. So when she told me about the affair, part of me wasn't even surprised. Part of me had been waiting for something to break. Did you try to fix it? For a while. We did counseling, had the hard conversations, but the trust was gone. And once that's gone, he shrugged. We were just two people living in the same house, pretending we weren't already over. Clara nodded slowly. I've never told anyone this, but the first time I tried to leave Marcus, he cried. Real tears. Told me he couldn't live without me, that I was the only good thing in his life, and I felt responsible. Like if I left, whatever happened to him would be my fault. That's manipulation. I know that now. But in the moment, it felt real. It felt like love. Like he needed me so desperately that leaving would be cruel. She laughed, bitter. Turns out love and need aren't the same thing. He didn't love me. He needed to control me. There's a difference. When did you figure that out? When I realized I was happier when he wasn't around. That the thought of him coming home made my chest tight. That I was walking on eggshells in my own relationship, constantly managing his moods, his jealousy, his suspicions. Clara looked at Nathan. I don't want to live like that anymore. But he won't let me stop. He doesn't get a vote, doesn't he? He knows where I work, where I live, who my friends are. He knows my routine, my habits, everything. How do you escape someone who knows everything about you? Nathan didn't have an answer, but he thought about it. About what it would take to truly disappear from someone. New job, new city, new life, burning everything down and starting over. You'd have to leave everything, he said quietly. Yeah, and I've worked too hard to let him take that from me too. They fell into silence again. Nathan found himself studying Clara, the sharp lines of her face, the way she held tension in her shoulders, the intelligence in her eyes, even when she was exhausted. She was beautiful, but that wasn't what struck him. It was the strength, the refusal to break even when everything was pushing her toward it. I should go, Clara said, standing up. Let you get some sleep. Nathan walked her to the door. Monday at 9, I'll meet you in the lobby. You really don't have to. Clara, stop. I'm going to be there. She smiled, small and genuine. Okay. After she left, Nathan stood in his apartment listening to Emma's white noise machine and the distant hum of traffic. He thought about Clara downstairs, probably not sleeping, about Marcus somewhere in the city, planning his next move, about the meeting on Monday that would likely solve nothing. He thought about how easy it would be to step back, to be neighborly without being involved, to care from a distance. And then he thought about the way Clara had looked at him when he said he'd be at the meeting, like she'd expected him to bail but was grateful he hadn't. He was in this now, whether he'd planned it or not. Monday morning came too fast. Nathan dropped Emma at school early, made an excuse to his boss about a late start, and met Clara in the lobby at 8:50. She was dressed for battle, sharp blazer, hair pulled back, the CEO version of herself instead of the frightened woman who'd knocked on his door 3 weeks ago. But Nathan could see the tension in her hands, the way she kept checking her phone. Ready? He asked. Not even a little bit. The landlord's office was in the basement, a cramped room that smelled like mildew and old coffee. The landlord himself, a man named Gerald, with a bad comb-over and a worse attitude, sat behind a desk covered in scattered papers and ignored them for a full minute before looking up. Ms. Bennett, and you are? Nathan Cole. I live in 5B. Gerald's eyes narrowed. This is a private meeting between myself and my tenant. I asked him to be here, Clara said, as a witness. A witness to what? To the fact that I've been following my lease agreement and that the disturbances in this building are not my fault. Gerald leaned back in his chair. That's not what I'm hearing from other tenants. I've had multiple complaints about noise, arguments, police presence at odd hours. Because my ex-boyfriend won't stop harassing me, Clara interrupted. I've filed 3 police reports. I've documented every incident. I've done everything legally required of me. I'm not causing disturbances. I'm the victim of them. Regardless, it's affecting the other residents. I can verify that, Nathan said. I've witnessed Marcus Torrance harassing Clara on multiple occasions. I have videos, timestamps, everything. Clara hasn't done anything wrong. She's been trying to keep herself safe while your building security does nothing. Gerald's face reddened. Gerald's face. Our building security is perfectly adequate. Your building security is one camera in the lobby that doesn't work half the time and a door that doesn't lock properly. I've watched Marcus walk into this building unchallenged at least 4 times. Mr. Cole, I don't appreciate you coming into my office and making accusations, and I don't appreciate you threatening to evict someone for being harassed. That's illegal, by the way, in case you weren't aware. The room went quiet. Gerald stared at Nathan, then at Clara. Clara's expression was carefully neutral, but Nathan could see the hint of satisfaction in her eyes. I'm not evicting anyone, Gerald said finally. I'm simply asking Ms. Bennett to resolve her personal issues in a way that doesn't impact other tenants. How exactly do you suggest I do that? Clara asked. I've called the police. I've filed reports. I've changed my locks. What else would you like me to do? That's not my problem. Actually, it is, Nathan cut in. As a landlord, you have a legal obligation to provide a safe living environment. Clara's safety is being compromised by inadequate building security and your refusal to take her complaint seriously. If something happens to her because you failed to address known security issues, you'll be liable. Gerald's face went from red to purple. Are you threatening me? I'm informing you of your legal obligations. Claire's lawyer can explain it in more detail if you'd like. Clara pulled a folder from her bag and slid it across the desk. Everything's documented here, every incident, every police report, every time I've contacted building management about security concerns. If you choose to not renew my lease, I'll be filing a formal complaint with the housing authority for retaliatory eviction. Boss, Miss. Gerald opened the folder, flipped through the pages, and his expression shifted. The bluster faded, replaced by calculation. I'll review this, he said stiffly, and I'll have building security do additional rounds on the 4th floor. Thank you, Clara said. That's all I've been asking for. They left the office and walked outside in silence. When they reached the parking lot, Clara stopped and turned to Nathan. She laughed, surprised and slightly breathless. That was amazing. Did you see his face when you mentioned liability? I might have overstated the legal case a bit. I don't care, he backed down. That's what matters. Clara's smile faded slightly. Thank you. Again, I couldn't have done that alone. Yeah, you could have. You had all the documentation, you knew your rights, I just made noise. Important noise. Clara pulled out her phone. I owe you that coffee, and probably lunch, and maybe dinner for the rest of the year. You don't owe me anything. Nathan, stop deflecting and just let me buy you coffee. They ended up at a small cafe 2 blocks from the building. Clara ordered something complicated with oat milk and extra shots. Nathan got black coffee and immediately regretted it when it tasted like burnt tar. So, Clara said, wrapping her hands around her cup, do you do this for all your neighbors, or am I special? You're the first one to knock on my door at 3 a.m. Lucky me. She took a sip of her coffee. Can I ask you something without it being weird? Depends on the question. Why are you still single? After your divorce, I mean. She gestured vaguely. You're clearly a good person. You're a good dad. You show up when it matters. That's rare. Nathan shifted uncomfortably. I don't know. Haven't really thought about it. That's a lie. Okay, yeah, it's a lie. He stared at his terrible coffee. After the divorce, I didn't want complications. Didn't want to bring someone into Emma's life who might not stick around. Didn't want to risk getting it wrong again. So you chose safe. I chose simple. There's a difference? Maybe not. Nathan looked at her. What about you? Before Marcus, I mean. Clara laughed. Before Marcus, I was too focused on work to have a real relationship. I dated, but it was always surface level, easy. Then Marcus came along and he was intense, present. It felt like he actually saw me, you know? Turns out he was just paying very close attention so he could figure out how to control me. That's not your fault, isn't it? I ignored so many red flags. His jealousy, his need to know where I was all the time, the way he'd make me feel guilty for having a life outside of him. I saw all of it, and I told myself it was just because he loved me so much. People who love you don't make you feel trapped. I know that now, but knowing it and believing it are different things. Clara set down her coffee. Sometimes I think about who I was before him. I was confident, decisive. I ran a company, for crying out loud. But with Marcus, I second-guessed everything. Let him make me smaller so he could feel bigger. You're not small now. No, but I had to lose a lot to remember that. Nathan's phone buzzed, a text from his boss asking where he was. He typed back a quick response about a family emergency and put the phone away. You're going to get in trouble, Clara said. It's fine. I have time saved up. Nathan, Clara, stop worrying about it. She smiled. You're very stubborn. Yeah, well, you're very persistent. We're even. They finished their coffee and walked back to the building together. In the lobby, Clara hesitated. I meant what I said earlier about dinner or drinks or just whatever. I'd like to do something normal, something that's not related to Marcus or police reports or feeling scared. Nathan thought about it, about the line he was walking between helping someone and getting involved with someone, about whether that line even existed anymore. Okay, he said, but only if you stop thanking me every 5 minutes. Deal. Clara smiled, a real smile, the kind that reached her eyes, and headed for the stairs. Nathan watched her go, then took the elevator up to his apartment. He had 20 minutes before he needed to leave for work. He spent them standing at his window, looking out at the city, thinking about how quickly normal life could become something else entirely. His phone buzzed. Clara again. Friday night? There's a new Italian place downtown that's supposed to be good. Nathan stared at the message. This was how it started, wasn't it? Small steps toward something bigger. Coffee turning into dinner, turning into something he couldn't take back. He should say no. Should keep the boundaries clear. Should remember all the reasons he'd chosen simple over complicated. Instead, he typed, Friday works. 7? Perfect. It's a date. Nathan looked at those 3 words for a long time. Then he put his phone away and went to work, ignoring the voice in his head that said he was making a mistake. The week passed in a strange rhythm. Nathan went to work, picked up Emma, helped with homework, made dinner. Normal life. But underneath it, he found himself thinking about Friday, about what it meant that Clara had called it a date, about whether he was ready for that. Marcus showed up twice more. Once on Tuesday, standing in the parking garage by Clara's car. Once on Thursday, back at her door. Each time, Clara documented it. Each time, Nathan came down with his phone ready. On Thursday night, after Marcus left, Nathan stood in Clara's apartment for the first time. She'd invited him in to see the security upgrades she'd made. A better lock, a doorbell camera, a deadbolt that actually worked. The apartment was smaller than his, but nicer. Decorated with actual thought instead of the functional minimalism Nathan had defaulted to after the divorce. There were plants on the windowsill, art on the walls, books stacked on every available surface. I know it's a lot, Clara said, watching him take it in. I like having things around me. Makes it feel less empty. It's nice. Nathan examined the new lock. This is good, solid. The locksmith said it would take a battering ram to get through it. Let's hope we don't have to test that theory. Clara laughed, but it was shaky. Yeah, let's hope. She showed him the doorbell camera footage from earlier. Marcus standing at her door, calling her name, checking his phone. The same pattern as always. No threats, no violence, just relentless presence. My lawyer says we're getting close to enough for a restraining order, Clara said. Maybe 2 more incidents, maybe 3. But close. That's good. Is it? Even with a restraining order, what's to stop him? A piece of paper doesn't keep him away. It just makes it illegal when he shows up. Nathan didn't have an answer for that. He'd been thinking the same thing. Friday's still on, right? Clara asked suddenly, changing the subject. Yeah, unless you want to cancel. Why would I want to cancel? I don't know. Second thoughts. Realizing that dinner with your upstairs neighbor who's seen you at your worst might be awkward. Clara smiled. Nathan, you've seen me terrified at 3 a.m, crying in police stations and facing down my landlord. Dinner is going to be the least awkward thing we've done together. Fair point. Besides, she added, I want to know more about you, the real you, not just the guy who shows up when I'm in crisis mode. There's not much to know. I doubt that. Clara walked him to the door. Friday at 7. Don't be late. Wouldn't dream of it. Nathan went back upstairs and immediately regretted agreeing to this. What was he doing? Clara was dealing with an abusive ex, a potential eviction, and a legal battle that seemed to have no end. She needed stability, not whatever complicated thing this was becoming. But when Friday came, he found himself getting ready anyway. He dropped Emma at Rachel's, enduring his ex-wife's knowing look when he mentioned he had plans, and drove downtown to the Italian place Clara had chosen. She was already there when he arrived, sitting at a corner table by the window. She'd dressed up, a dark blue dress that was somehow both elegant and understated, and she smiled when she saw him. You made it. Traffic was bad. Liar, you're early. Nathan sat down across from her. Okay, yeah, I'm early. Sue me. A waiter appeared with menus and wine recommendations. Clara ordered a glass of red. Nathan stuck with water. Not drinking? Clara asked after the waiter left. Trying to stay sharp. Never know when you might need to chase off an ex-boyfriend. Clara's smile faltered for just a second. Can we have one night where we don't talk about Marcus? Yeah, sorry, one night, starting now. They ordered food, pasta for Clara, chicken for Nathan, and spent the first part of the meal in stilted small talk. The weather, traffic, the quality of the breadbasket, all the safe topics people default to when they're not sure what they're allowed to say. Then Clara set down her fork and looked at him directly. Okay, this is ridiculous. We've been through too much for small talk. Ask me something real. Like what? I don't know. Anything. What do you actually want to know about me? Nathan thought about it. Why did you become a CEO? That's not exactly a job that happens by accident. Claire's expression shifted, surprised maybe that he'd asked about work instead of something personal. I like solving problems. That's really what it comes down to. I like taking something broken and figuring out how to fix it. And running a company is just, it's 1,000 problems that need solving every day. It's exhausting and stressful, and I love it. What kind of company? Tech. We make software for supply chain management. It's incredibly boring to explain at parties. Try me. So she did. And Nathan found himself actually interested, not just in what she was saying, but in the way she said it. The passion in her voice when she talked about efficiency models and logistics optimization. The way her whole posture changed, shoulders back, eyes bright, when she described a particularly difficult problem they'd solved. Your turn, Clara said eventually. What do you do? I just realized I've never actually asked. I work in IT network administration for a hospital system. That sounds important. It's stable, which is what I needed after the divorce. Something predictable. But do you like it? Nathan considered. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. It's just a job. Pays the bills, lets me take care of Emma. What would you do if money wasn't an issue? I don't know. I used to think about teaching, maybe history or literature, something where you're actually connecting with people instead of fixing servers at 2 in the morning. Why don't you? Because teaching doesn't pay enough to support a kid. Because stable matters more than happy. Because... He stopped. Because it's easier not to try than to try and fail. Clara nodded slowly. I get that, I really do. But it's also really sad. Yeah, probably. The food arrived and they ate in comfortable silence for a while. Nathan noticed Clara kept glancing at her phone, checking for messages, probably making sure Marcus wasn't trying to contact her. He's not going to show up here, Nathan said quietly. You don't know that. Clara, I'm sorry. I know I said one night without talking about him, but he's always there. Even when he's not physically there, he's in my head. Waiting. She set down her fork. I hate that he's taken this from me too. The ability to just exist without fear. Nathan reached across the table and covered her hand with his. It was an impulse, unplanned, but Claire's fingers curled around his and held on. We're going to fix this, he said, one way or another. How? He's not going to stop, and the system isn't designed to protect people until after something terrible happens. I'm stuck in this waiting period, just hoping he doesn't escalate before we have enough evidence for a restraining order. Then we make sure he doesn't get the chance to escalate. How? Nathan didn't have an answer, but looking at Clara, at the fear and frustration and exhaustion in her face, he knew he'd figure something out. He had to. They finished dinner and walked outside. The night air was cool, and Clara pulled her jacket tighter around herself. Thank you for tonight, she said, for trying to give me normal. Did it work? A little, for a while. She looked up at him. Walk me to my car? They walked the 2 blocks to the parking garage in silence. Clara's car was on the 3rd level, parked under a flickering fluorescent light. She unlocked it, then turned to face Nathan. I'm glad you said yes to dinner. Me too. Even though I'm a mess? You're not a mess. You're dealing with an impossible situation as best you can. Clara smiled. You always know what to say. That's definitely not true. She stepped closer. For a moment, Nathan thought she might kiss him. Part of him wanted her to. Part of him knew it was a terrible idea. Clara must have seen something in his expression because she stopped, uncertainty crossing her face. Too fast? She asked. Maybe. I don't know. This whole thing is complicated. Yeah, I know. She stepped back. I should go. Clara, it's fine, really. Thank you for dinner. I'll see you at home. She got in her car and drove away before Nathan could figure out what to say. He stood in the parking garage for a long time, listening to the echo of engines and wondering what he was doing. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. I'm sorry if I made things weird. You didn't, he replied. I'm just trying to figure out what this is. Me too. But I know I like having you in my life, even if it's complicated. Same. Good night, Nathan. Good night. Nathan drove home and lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Clara's hand in his across the dinner table, about the way she'd looked at him in the parking garage, about the growing weight of something he couldn't quite name. He was falling for her. That was the truth he'd been avoiding. Somewhere between the late-night knocks and the police reports and the shared coffee, he'd started caring about Clara as more than just someone who needed help, and that terrified him. Because what happened when Marcus finally went too far? What happened when this stopped being about protection and started being about something neither of them was ready for? Nathan didn't have answers, but as he finally drifted off to sleep, he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't walking away. Not now. Not while Clara still needed him. Maybe not ever. The nightmare started 3 days after their dinner. Nathan would wake at 2 or 3 in the morning to the sound of pounding that wasn't real, his heart racing before his brain caught up and reminded him he was safe in his own bed. He'd lie there listening to the building's silence, wondering if Clara was awake too, if she could sleep at all anymore. On Tuesday morning, he ran into her in the parking garage. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, dark circles under her eyes, her usual sharp composure fraying at the edges. You okay? He asked. Marcus filed a counter-complaint with the police. Says I'm harassing him, that I've been making false reports to damage his reputation. Clara laughed, hollow and bitter. Can you believe that? After everything he's done, he's trying to make himself the victim. That won't hold up. You have documentation. Do I? Or do I have a bunch of videos of a man standing in a hallway? A bunch of phone calls that could be interpreted as someone trying to have a conversation with their ex? Clara's voice cracked. His lawyer is good, Nathan, better than mine, and he's spinning this whole thing like I'm the unstable one, the emotional CEO who can't handle a breakup. Nathan wanted to tell her it would be fine, that the truth would win out, but he'd lived long enough to know the truth didn't always matter as much as who told the better story. What did your lawyer say? To keep documenting, to not engage, to wait it out. Clara opened her car door. I'm so tired of waiting. She drove away before Nathan could respond. He stood in the garage for a long time after, thinking about the way her hands had been shaking on the steering wheel. That night, Emma asked why he kept checking his phone during dinner. I'm not checking it that much, Nathan said, cutting her chicken into smaller pieces even though she was perfectly capable of doing it herself. You've looked at it like 100 times. Emma speared a piece of broccoli and examined it suspiciously. Is it the lady friend? Emma, Mom says you need to be careful about lady friends because you have me to think about. Nathan set down his fork. What else did Mom say? That you're a good dad, but you make bad choices in relationships. Emma popped the broccoli in her mouth and made a face. What's a relationship? It's when two people care about each other. Like you and me. Different kind of caring. Like you and Mom used to? Nathan rubbed his face. Yeah, like that. But that didn't work out. No, it didn't. Emma was quiet for a moment, pushing food around her plate. Are you going to have another relationship that doesn't work out? I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe, maybe not. I think you should try anyway. Mom has a new boyfriend and she seems happy. You should be happy too. Nathan looked at his 6-year-old daughter, who somehow had more emotional intelligence than most adults he knew. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just don't notice because you're busy being worried all the time. Bum. She wasn't wrong. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. He's here again, at my door. I called the police, but can you... Nathan was already standing up. Emma, I need to go downstairs for a minute. Stay here, okay? Don't open the door for anyone. Is it the lady friend? Just stay here, I'll be right back. He took the stairs down 2 at a time. On the 4th floor, he could hear Marcus before he saw him. The same voice, the same words, slightly different arrangement. Clara, this is ridiculous. I know you're in there. We need to talk about these false accusations you're making. My lawyer says, your lawyer can talk to her lawyer, Nathan said, already recording. You need to leave. Marcus turned, and Nathan saw something different in his face this time. Not just anger, something harder, more calculated. The White Knight again. Tell me something. Are you sleeping with her? That's none of your business. It is if you're the reason she won't talk to me. If you're the one poisoning her against me. Marcus stepped closer. I've been doing some research on you, Nathan Cole. Divorced 3 years ago. Lost custody battle. Working a dead-end job. You see Clara as your way to something better, don't you? Nathan's jaw tightened. I see Clara as someone who deserves not to be harassed. Harassed? That's a strong word for trying to have a conversation with someone I spent 2 years with. She doesn't want to have that conversation. How many times does she have to say no before you understand it? Marcus smiled. See, that's the thing. Clara says a lot of things she doesn't mean. I know her. I know when she's scared, when she's lying, when she's trying to convince herself she wants something she doesn't. And right now she's trying to convince herself she doesn't love me anymore. But I know the truth. The truth is she filed 3 police reports against you. The truth is she's confused, and you're taking advantage of that confusion. Marcus pulled out his phone. I have texts from her, from just last month, telling me she misses me, that she's not sure breaking up was the right decision. Want to see them? Nathan didn't respond. Marcus took his silence as permission and held up the phone. Sure enough, there were texts. From Clara's number. Words that made Nathan's stomach turn. I miss you. This is harder than I thought it would be. Maybe we gave up too fast. See? Marcus said. She still loves me. She's just letting people like you convince her otherwise. The door behind them opened. Clara stood there looking between them. Those texts, she said quietly. I sent those 6 weeks ago, before you showed up at my office and screamed at me in front of my entire staff. Before you followed me to 3 different client meetings. Before you started showing up at my apartment in the middle of the night. I sent those when I still thought maybe we could be civil, that maybe you'd respect my decision even if you didn't agree with it. Clara, I don't love you, Marcus. I don't even like you, and I need you to leave me alone. Marcus's expression shifted. The calculated charm dropped away, leaving raw anger underneath. You don't get to do this. You don't get to just decide we're over without even trying to fix it. I tried to fix it for 2 years. I'm done trying. Because of him? Marcus pointed at Nathan. Because some divorced loser is giving you attention? Because you make me feel small and scared and like I can't trust my own thoughts, Clara said. Her voice was steady now, clear. Because I spent 2 years walking on eggshells, managing your moods, apologizing for things that weren't my fault. Because the day I left you was the first day in months I could actually breathe. Nathan saw it coming before it happened, saw Marcus's hand twitch, saw the rage build in his face. He stepped between them without thinking. Don't, he said quietly. Marcus stared at him. For a long moment, Nathan thought he would actually do it, would throw the punch that would finally cross the line into something the police couldn't ignore. Then sirens echoed in the stairwell, getting closer. Marcus stepped back, smoothing his collar. This isn't over. Yeah, it is, Nathan said. Marcus walked past them toward the stairs, and Nathan kept recording until he was out of sight. Then he turned to Clara. You okay? She was shaking. Did you see that? Did you see him almost? I saw it. I got it on video. 2 police officers appeared in the hallway moments later. Nathan and Clara gave their statements, showed the video, explained about the counter-complaint, the months of harassment, the escalating pattern. The officers took notes, promised to speak with Marcus, suggested Clara file for a restraining order immediately. We have enough now, one of them said. With this video showing aggressive behavior, the pattern of harassment, the multiple reports, you should be able to get a temporary order within 48 hours. After they left, Clara sagged against her doorframe. I need to sit down. Come upstairs, Nathan said. I'll make coffee. What about Emma? She's fine. Come on. They went up to Nathan's apartment. Emma was exactly where he'd left her, watching cartoons on the couch with her homework spread around her. "Is everything okay?" she asked, looking between her dad and Clara. "Everything's fine, sweetheart. This is Clara. She's our neighbor." Emma studied Clara with the unsettling directness of children. "Are you the lady friend?" Clara managed a small smile. "I guess I am. My mom says Dad needs to be careful about lady friends." "Emma," Nathan said, mortified. "What? That's what she said." Clara sat down on the couch, and Emma immediately scooted closer, curious. "Do you like dinosaurs?" "Yeah," Emma asked. "I don't know much about them." "That's okay. I can teach you." "Did you know that velociraptors were actually really small? Like only 3 feet tall?" Nathan left them talking about prehistoric creatures and went to make coffee. When he came back, Emma was showing Clara her dinosaur books, narrating facts with complete confidence. "Dad says I talk too much about dinosaurs, but I think he's wrong," Emma was saying. "You can never know too much about dinosaurs." "I think you're right," Clara said. "Your dad is clearly wrong about this." Nathan handed Clara a mug. "I'm standing right here." "We know," Emma said. "We're just stating facts." Clara laughed, a real laugh, the first Nathan had heard in days. Emma beamed, pleased with herself. "I like her," Emma announced to Nathan. "She can be the lady friend." "That's not how it works, Emma." "Why not?" "Because—" Nathan looked at Clara helplessly. "Because relationships are complicated," Clara said. "Even when you like someone, there are a lot of things to figure out." "That sounds boring." "It kind of is." Emma seemed satisfied with this answer and went back to her homework. Nathan sat down across from Clara, and they drank coffee in comfortable silence while Emma worked on math problems and muttered to herself about addition. "Thank you," Clara said quietly, "for earlier. If you hadn't been there, don't think about it." "I have to think about it. He was going to hit me. I saw it in his face." "But he didn't, and now we have proof that he was considering it. That's what matters." Clara set down her mug. "I'm filing for the restraining order tomorrow. My lawyer's going to expedite it." "Good. But even with a restraining order—" "One thing at a time," Nathan said. "First we get the order, then we figure out the rest." Clara nodded, but Nathan could see the doubt in her eyes. The fear that a piece of paper wouldn't be enough to stop someone who'd already proven he didn't care about boundaries. Emma yawned dramatically. "I'm tired. Can I go to bed?" Nathan checked the time. 8:30. "Yeah, go brush your teeth. I'll be in to say goodnight in a minute." Emma gathered her books and paused next to Clara. "It was nice meeting you." "You too. I hope you become a permanent lady friend and not just a temporary one." "Emma." "What?" "I'm just being honest." She skipped off to the bathroom, leaving Nathan and Clara alone. "She's great," Clara said. "She's a handful. The best kids usually are." Clara stood. "I should let you do bedtime. I've already disrupted your evening enough." "You didn't disrupt anything." "Nathan, I keep showing up at your door with my problems. At some point, that becomes a pattern. And at some point, maybe you accept that I'm showing up for those problems voluntarily." Clara looked at him for a long moment. "Why, though? Really? You could have walked away 100 times by now. You still could. What keeps you here?" Nathan thought about all the careful answers he could give, all the ways to keep this simple and uncomplicated. "You," he said finally, "you keep me here." Clara's breath caught. "Nathan, I know this is messy. I know the timing is terrible. I know you've got enough to deal with without adding whatever this is to the pile. But I'm not helping you because I feel obligated. I'm helping because I care what happens to you." "That's—" Clara shook her head. "That's really inconvenient timing." "Yeah, I know. I can't. I don't have space in my life right now for anything more than survival. And you deserve better than whatever scraps I can offer between panic attacks and police reports." "I'm not asking for anything." "You should be. You should be running in the opposite direction from this disaster." "Probably, but I'm not good at doing the smart thing lately." Clara smiled, sad and a little broken. "We're quite a pair, aren't we? The divorced single dad and the CEO who can't escape her ex. Sounds like the setup for a bad romantic comedy. Or a tragedy." Let's aim for comedy. She kissed him then, quick and soft, over before Nathan could fully register it was happening. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Thank you," she whispered, "for caring, for staying, for being exactly what I needed when I needed it." Then she was gone, slipping out the door before Nathan could find words. He stood in his living room for a long time, fingers touching his lips where she'd kissed him. Emma called from her bedroom, asking where he was, and Nathan went through the motions of bedtime routine. Read a story about a T-Rex who was afraid of the dark, tucked blankets around his daughter, kissed her forehead. "I like Clara," Emma said sleepily. "She's nice." "Yeah, she is." "Are you going to see her again?" "Probably. She lives downstairs." "You know what I mean." Nathan did know. "Maybe, if she wants to." "She wants to, I could tell." "How could you tell?" "The way she looked at you, like you were interesting." Emma yawned again. "Most people don't look at you like you're interesting." "Thanks, sweetheart. Really feeling the love here." Emma giggled. "You're welcome." Nathan turned off her light and closed the door most of the way, leaving it cracked like she preferred. His phone buzzed as he walked back to the living room. Clara had texted. "I shouldn't have done that." "The kiss?" he replied. "Yeah, it wasn't fair to you. I'm not complaining. You should be." "I'm a mess, Nathan. I can't drag you into this any deeper than I already have." Nathan stared at the message. He could agree, could give her an easy out, could step back to the safe distance of helpful neighbor instead of whatever they were becoming. "What if I want to be dragged in?" he sent. A long pause, then, "Why would you want that?" "Because I haven't felt this much of anything in 3 years. Because you're the first person since my divorce who makes me want to try again. Because I'm tired of playing it safe." Another pause. Longer this time. Nathan's phone rang instead of buzzing with a text. "Hi," Clara said when he answered. "Hi. I don't know how to do this, the dating thing. Not while Marcus is still, not while everything is so complicated." "Then we don't do the dating thing. We just exist as whatever we are right now." "Which is what?" "I don't know. Friends who kiss sometimes?" Clara laughed. "That's the worst definition I've ever heard. I'm working with limited information here." "Okay. Friends who kiss sometimes. I can do that." They talked for another hour, about nothing and everything. Clara told him about her first job out of college, working for a startup that crashed and burned within 6 months. Nathan told her about the time he'd accidentally locked himself in a server room for 4 hours and had to be rescued by building security. Normal conversation, the kind people have when they're getting to know each other outside of crisis mode. "I should let you sleep," Clara finally said. "It's almost 11. You should sleep too. I'll try. No promises. Call me if you need anything. Doesn't matter what time." "I know. Thank you." After they hung up, Nathan lay in bed and thought about the kiss, about the way Clara had looked at him before she left, about Emma's observation that most people didn't find him interesting. His daughter wasn't wrong. Since the divorce, he'd made himself as uninteresting as possible. Safe, predictable. No surprises, no complications, no risks. Clara was all risk, all complication, all the things he'd been avoiding. And for the first time in years, that felt like exactly what he needed. The restraining order came through on Thursday. Temporary, pending a full hearing in 2 weeks, but enforceable immediately. Marcus was to stay at least 500 feet from Clara, her workplace, and her residence. No contact of any kind. Nathan was at work when Clara texted him the news. "It's done. He's been served." "How do you feel?" he replied. "Scared, relieved, like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop." "What does your lawyer say?" "That I did everything right. That the evidence was solid. That Marcus will probably appeal, but it won't work." "That's good." "Is it?" "A piece of paper doesn't stop him if he decides he doesn't care about consequences." Nathan didn't have a good answer for that. She was right. They both knew she was right. That night, Marcus violated the restraining order. Nathan was making dinner, spaghetti, Emma's favorite, when he heard the shouting, different this time, louder, more desperate. "Clara, I know you're in there. You can't do this. You can't just cut me out of your life. Nathan told Emma to stay in the apartment, grabbed his phone, and ran downstairs. By the time he reached the fourth floor, other neighbors had come out of their apartments. An older woman Nathan vaguely recognized, a young couple he'd seen in the elevator. Marcus was pounding on Clara's door with both fists. Open the door. We need to talk about this. You can't just throw away 2 years. The police are on their way, the older woman said to Nathan. I called them. Clara, please. Marcus was crying now, his voice breaking. I love you. Why can't you see that? Everything I've done, it's because I love you. Nathan started recording. Marcus saw him and something in his face shifted from desperate to furious. This is your fault. You turned her against me. I didn't turn her against anyone. You did that yourself. She loved me. Before you came along, she loved me. She was scared of you. There's a difference. Marcus lunged at Nathan. Nathan barely had time to brace himself before Marcus's fist connected with his jaw. The pain was sharp and immediate, and Nathan stumbled backward into the wall. The other neighbors shouted. Someone screamed. Nathan's phone clattered to the floor, still recording. Marcus hit him again, this time in the stomach. Nathan doubled over, trying to catch his breath. He'd been in exactly one fight in his entire life. In high school, over something stupid he couldn't even remember, and he'd lost that one too. But this time he had something to fight for. Nathan pushed back, getting his arms up to protect his face. He wasn't trying to win, just trying to keep Marcus occupied until the police arrived. Keep him focused on Nathan instead of trying to break down Clara's door. They crashed into the opposite wall. Marcus was stronger, angrier, fighting like someone with nothing left to lose. Nathan just held on, taking hits, giving them back when he could. Then Clara's door opened. Stop it! Both of you, stop! Marcus froze. Nathan used the moment to push him away, putting distance between them. His jaw throbbed. His ribs ached. He could taste blood in his mouth. Clara. Marcus reached for her. Don't touch me. Her voice was ice. You just assaulted someone in front of witnesses. You violated a restraining order. You've ruined whatever small chance you had of me ever forgiving you. I don't care about the restraining order. I care about you, about us. There is no us. There hasn't been for months, and now... Clara looked at Nathan, at the blood on his lip, and her expression crumpled. Now you've hurt someone I care about because you can't accept reality. Sirens echoed in the stairwell, getting closer. Marcus looked at Clara, then at Nathan, then back at Clara. I did this for you, all of it, because I love you. That's not love, Clara said quietly. That's obsession, and I'm done being the object of it. The police arrived in force this time. 4 officers, all business. They separated everyone, took statements, documented Nathan's injuries. One of them took photos of his split lip and the bruise already forming on his jaw. Marcus was arrested, handcuffed and led away, still shouting about how Clara didn't understand, how she was making a mistake, how he just needed her to listen. After they were gone, after all the statements were given and the other neighbors had retreated back into their apartments, Clara and Nathan stood alone in the hallway. Let me see, she said, reaching for his face. Nathan winced as she touched his jaw. It's not that bad. You're bleeding. Just a split lip. I've had worse. When have you had worse? Okay, never. This is definitely the worst. Clara laughed, but it was shaky. You shouldn't have gotten involved. He was at your door. Where else was I going to be? Safe, in your apartment, not getting punched in the face. Yeah, well, too late now. They went back to Nathan's apartment. Emma took one look at his face and burst into tears. What happened? Who hurt you? I'm okay, sweetheart. Just a little accident. That's not an accident. Someone hit you. Clara knelt down next to Emma. He was helping me. There was a bad person trying to hurt me, and your dad made sure I stayed safe. He was very brave. Emma looked between them, processing. The lady friend's bad ex-boyfriend? Yeah, Nathan said. Him? Is he gone now? He's gone. The police took him away. Emma seemed satisfied with this answer. She demanded to help clean Nathan's face, which mostly involved her handing him tissues and narrating what she was doing like a doctor in a medical drama. We need to apply pressure to stop the bleeding, she announced seriously. And ice for the swelling. And maybe a Band-Aid. I don't think I need a Band-Aid. Everyone needs Band-Aids. That's just science. Clara watched them, something soft in her expression. After Emma was convinced Nathan would survive, she went back to her homework, leaving the adults alone in the kitchen. "Thank you," Clara said. "I know I keep saying that." "Then stop." "I can't. You keep doing things worth thanking you for." She touched his jaw gently, carefully. "This is going to bruise. Worth it." "How is getting punched in the face worth it?" "Because now Marcus is in jail for violating a restraining order and assault. Because now he can't hurt you. That's worth a bruise." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry you got dragged into this." "Clara, no, I am. You were just being a good neighbor, and I turned your life into a crime drama." "I'm not just being a good neighbor. I thought we established that. Though friends who kiss sometimes." "Right, and friends who kiss sometimes protect each other. That's how it works." Clara kissed him then, careful of his split lip, gentle and sweet, and full of all the things neither of them were saying out loud. When she pulled back, Nathan touched her face. "Stay tonight. You shouldn't be alone in your apartment after everything that happened." "I can't. Emma's here. Emma likes you, and she already knows you're the lady friend. Plus, I'm injured. I might need someone to watch me for signs of concussion." "You don't have a concussion." "Might develop one. Better safe than sorry." Clara smiled. "You're ridiculous." "Is that a yes?" "It's a yes." They spent the evening in strange domesticity. Emma teaching Clara about different types of dinosaurs. Nathan making dinner one-handed because his ribs hurt too much to move normally. All of them eating on the couch while watching a nature documentary Emma had picked out. Around 9, Emma fell asleep between them, her head on Clara's lap. "She's out," Clara whispered. "Yeah, she does that, goes from full speed to unconscious in about 30 seconds. Nathan carried Emma to bed. When he came back, Clara was cleaning up the dinner plates, moving around his kitchen like she belonged there. "You don't have to do that," he said. "I know, but I want to help." They finished cleaning in comfortable silence. Then Clara turned to him. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Well, when you got divorced, did it feel like the end of the world?" Nathan thought about it. "Yeah, for a while. Like everything I'd planned and built just collapsed. But then I figured out how to build something different. Smaller, maybe. But mine." "Do you think you'll ever try again? Marriage, I mean." "I don't know, maybe. If I found someone worth the risk." He looked at her. "Why?" "Because I keep thinking about the future, about what life looks like after Marcus is really gone. And I realize I don't know how to trust anyone anymore. He broke something in me. The part that could believe people when they said they cared. Not everyone is him." "I know, but knowing it and feeling it are different things." Nathan pulled her close, careful of his sore ribs. Clara rested her head on his chest, and they stood like that for a long time, just breathing. "One day at a time, Nathan said. "That's all we can do." "One day at a time," Clara repeated. She stayed that night, sleeping on the couch, even though Nathan offered his bed. He woke once around 3 and found her awake, staring at the ceiling. "Can't sleep?" he asked quietly. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About how different my life is now than it was 2 months ago, how much has changed. Is that good or bad?" Clara was quiet for a long moment. "Both. It's terrifying and exhausting, and I wouldn't trade it for anything." "Not even for a full night's sleep?" She laughed softly. "Well, maybe for that." Nathan sat with her until she drifted off. Then he went back to his own bed and lay awake, thinking about the fight. About the sound of Marcus's fists connecting with his face. About the look in Clara's eyes when she'd seen Nathan bleeding. He touched his jaw where it throbbed and thought about how much had changed for him too. How 2 months ago his life had been simple and predictable and safe. How now it was none of those things. And how, despite the pain and the complications and the uncertainty, he didn't want to go back. Marcus made bail the next morning. Clara's lawyer called at 7:30 with the news. Nathan was making breakfast, trying to crack eggs one-handed while his ribs screamed at him, when he heard Clara's sharp intake of breath from the couch. "How is that possible?" she was saying into her phone. He violated a restraining order. He assaulted someone. How does he just walk out? Nathan couldn't hear the lawyer's response, but he could see Clara's face go pale. Okay, yes, I understand. Thank you for letting me know. She hung up and sat very still. He's out? Nathan asked. His family posted bail, $10,000, and he's back on the street. Clara's voice was flat. The lawyer says not to worry, that he'll have stricter conditions now, that if he comes near me again, they'll revoke bail immediately. That's good. Is it? He already didn't care about a restraining order. Why would he care about bail conditions? Nathan didn't have an answer. Emma wandered out of her bedroom, rubbing her eyes, and stopped when she saw Clara still there. Did you have a sleepover? She asked. Something like that, Clara said, managing a smile. Cool. Can we have pancakes? The morning unfolded in surreal normalcy. Pancakes and orange juice and Emma chattering about a science project she needed to start. Clara sat at the table looking exhausted and haunted, but she answered Emma's questions and laughed at the right moments and pretended everything was fine. Nathan watched her perform and wondered how many times she'd done this at work, put on the competent CEO mask while falling apart underneath. After breakfast, Clara went downstairs to shower and change. Nathan helped Emma pack her backpack for school, wincing every time he moved wrong and his ribs reminded him they were bruised. Does it hurt a lot? Emma asked, watching him carefully. A little, but I'll be fine. Mom's gonna be mad when she sees your face. Yeah, probably. Are you gonna tell her about Clara? Nathan paused in the middle of zipping her backpack. What about Clara? That you like her, that she's the lady friend. I don't know. Maybe. You should tell her. Mom doesn't like secrets. It's not a secret, it's just complicated. Emma rolled her eyes with the exasperation only a 6-year-old could muster. Everything's complicated with adults. You guys make everything so hard. She wasn't wrong. Nathan dropped Emma at school and went to work, where his coworkers took one look at his face and started asking questions. He deflected with vague answers about helping a neighbor, but rumors spread anyway. By lunch, half the IT department thought he'd been mugged. His phone buzzed constantly. Texts from Clara updating him on conversations with her lawyer, with building security, with the police detective handling Marcus's case. Around 2 in the afternoon, Gerald the landlord called Clara for another meeting. Nathan left work early and met her in the building lobby. Clara looked like she'd aged 5 years in the past 24 hours. He's going to kick me out, she said. I can feel it. He can't. We already went over this. He'll find a way. Landlords always find a way. Gerald's office was exactly as depressing as Nathan remembered. The landlord sat behind his cluttered desk, wearing an expression that said he'd rather be anywhere else. Ms. Bennett, Mr. Cole, thank you for coming. What's this about? Clara asked. Gerald cleared his throat. I've been reviewing the incidents over the past 2 months, the police visits, the disturbances, the assault in the hallway last night, and I've made a decision. If you're planning to not renew my lease, actually I'm not. Gerald pulled out a folder. I'm terminating Mr. Torrance's visitor privileges. He's been banned from the property entirely. Building security has his photo. If he shows up again, they'll call the police immediately. Clara blinked. What? I spoke with my lawyer. She made it very clear that attempting to evict you would expose me to significant legal liability. So instead, I'm taking steps to ensure your safety and the safety of other tenants. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank your lawyer for pointing out how badly I'd screwed up. Gerald slid the folder across the desk. This is documentation that Torrance is trespassed from the property. Keep a copy for your records. They left the office in stunned silence. In the lobby, Clara turned to Nathan. Did that just happen? I think so. He's actually helping? Apparently, fear of lawsuits is a powerful motivator. Clara laughed, slightly hysterical. I can't believe it. Something actually went right. Nathan wanted to share her relief, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just a temporary reprieve, that Marcus making bail meant they were on borrowed time. His phone rang, Rachel's name on the screen. I need to take this, he told Clara. Go ahead. I'm going to call my lawyer with the update. Nathan answered. Hey, what the hell happened to your face? Rachel's voice was sharp. Emma told you. Emma said you got in a fight helping a lady friend. Want to explain that? Nathan sighed. Not really, but I'm guessing you're not giving me a choice. You guessed right. He gave her the abbreviated version. Neighbor being harassed, situation escalating. He stepped in. Rachel listened in silence until he finished. So you're dating someone who's being stalked by her ex-boyfriend, she said flatly. It's not like that. What is it like? It's complicated. Everything with you is complicated, Nathan. That's the problem. You can't just have a normal relationship. It's always some drama or crisis or situation that requires you to play hero. That's not fair, isn't it? Think about it. When we met, I was dealing with my dad's illness. You swooped in to help, made yourself indispensable. Then when the crisis was over and real life started, you didn't know how to just be with someone. You only knew how to rescue them. Nathan felt something cold settle in his chest. Is that really what you think? I think you're a good person who's attracted to broken things. And I think Emma deserves better than watching her father get punched in the face over someone else's problems. Clara's not a problem. She's a person who needs help. And you're the only one who can provide it? Come on, Nathan. You're smarter than that. What do you want me to do? Ignore her? Let her deal with this alone? I want you to think about your daughter, about what kind of example you're setting, about whether this woman is worth the risk you're taking. She is. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. You're falling for her. I don't know. Maybe. Then you need to be sure she's in this for the right reasons, that she actually cares about you and not just the safety you represent. It's not like that. How do you know? How much of what you're feeling is real, and how much is just the high of being needed? Nathan didn't have an answer. Rachel sighed. Just be careful. For Emma's sake, if not your own. I don't want her getting attached to someone who might not stick around once the crisis is over. After she hung up, Nathan stood in the lobby, staring at his phone. Rachel's words rattled around in his head, finding all the places where his own doubts lived. Was she right? Was he just playing hero? Did Clara actually care about him? Or did she just need someone to lean on? Clara came back from her phone call smiling. My lawyer says the trespass notice is great. It adds another layer of protection. She thinks, Nathan, what's wrong? Nothing. Just talk to my ex-wife. About me? About the situation. What did she say? Nathan hesitated. That I should be careful. That Emma comes first. She's right. Emma should come first. I know. Clara studied his face. What else did she say? It doesn't matter. It does if it's making you look at me like that. Like what? Like you're second-guessing everything. Nathan rubbed his face, immediately regretted it when pain shot through his jaw. She asked if I was sure you were in this for the right reasons, if you actually cared about me, or just needed someone to protect you. Clara went very still. And what do you think? I don't know. I want to believe that you don't know. Clara's voice went flat. After everything. After I've let you into my life, into my fear, into you don't know if I actually care about you. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Nathan didn't know how to explain it without making it worse. How to articulate the fear that he was just a convenient solution to her problem. That when Marcus was gone and she felt safe again, she wouldn't need him anymore. Forget it, Clara said. I should go. Clara, wait. But she was already walking away, her back rigid with hurt and anger. Nathan watched her go and wanted to chase after her, wanted to take back the doubt and the hesitation and just believe what he felt. Instead, he went to pick up Emma from school. His daughter took one look at his face and frowned. You're sad. I'm fine. You're sad and your face hurts. Did you and the lady friend have a fight? Something like that. Are you going to fix it? I don't know how. Emma was quiet for a moment, thinking. When me and Sophie have fights, we say sorry, and then we share snacks. Maybe you should try that. I don't think snacks are going to fix this one, sweetheart. You never know until you try. That evening, Nathan stood outside Clara's door 3 times, trying to work up the courage to knock. Each time, he chickened out and went back upstairs. Around 9, his phone buzzed. Clara had texted, "I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the situation and scared that your ex-wife is right." "About what?" he replied. "That I'm too broken to be in a relationship. That I'm using you. That when this is over, you'll realize I'm not worth the trouble. You're not broken, and you're definitely worth it." "How do you know?" "Because I've seen you at your worst and I'm still here because you make me want to try again even though I'm terrified of getting it wrong. Because Emma asked about you 3 times today and she never asks about anyone." A long pause, then, "Can I come up, please?" She knocked 2 minutes later. When Nathan opened the door, Clara looked smaller somehow, vulnerable in a way she hadn't even that first night. "I need to tell you something," she said. "Okay. When I first knocked on your door, you were just a solution, a safe place. I wasn't thinking about you as a person, just as someone who could help me. And I'm sorry for that. It wasn't fair. Clara." But somewhere along the way, it changed. You stopped being just the neighbor who helped and started being you. Nathan, the guy who makes terrible coffee and gets way too invested in his daughter's dinosaur phase and shows up even when it's hard. I don't know when it happened, but it did. "Your ex-wife asked if I was in this for the right reasons," Clara continued. "And the truth is, I don't know what the right reasons are anymore. All I know is that when I think about my life after Marcus is gone, you're in it. Not because I need you to protect me, but because I like who I am when I'm with you." Nathan pulled her inside and closed the door. "I'm sorry for doubting." "Don't be. It's a fair question. I've been asking myself the same thing." "And what answer did you come up with?" Clara stepped closer. "That I'm falling for you, and it terrifies me, because the last time I fell for someone, I lost myself. But with you, I feel like I'm finding myself again." Nathan kissed her, properly this time, not the quick stolen moments from before. Clara melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, and for a moment the fear and doubt and complications all faded away. When they pulled apart, Nathan rested his forehead against hers. "Emma's asleep," he said quietly. "Is that an invitation?" "It's whatever you want it to be." Clara smiled. "Show me where you keep the terrible coffee. We should probably talk before we do anything stupid." They made coffee and sat on the couch, close enough that their knees touched. Clara told him about her day, about work stress and the pitying looks from her assistant, and the constant fear that Marcus would appear, even though logically she knew he was out on bail with conditions. Nathan told her about Rachel's concerns, about his own fears that he was repeating old patterns, about how much Emma had grown on Clara in just a few short meetings. "She's a great kid," Clara said. "You've done a good job with her." "I try. Most days I feel like I'm making it up as I go." "That's what makes you a good parent. The ones who think they have all the answers are the ones who screw kids up." "Is that professional experience talking?" "Personal. My dad thought he knew everything. Turned out he mostly knew how to make me feel small." Clara stared into her coffee mug. "I spent my whole childhood trying to be perfect so he'd notice me. Then I spent my 20s proving I didn't need his approval. And then Marcus came along and, I don't know, maybe I was ready to try again with someone. And I picked wrong." "Gee, bumtit." "You didn't pick wrong. He showed you who he wanted you to see. That's on him, not you." "I should have seen the signs earlier. Hindsight's always clearer." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance. Clara tensed automatically, and Nathan put his hand over hers. "He's not coming tonight," he said. "How do you know?" "Because he's not stupid. He knows violating bail conditions means jail. He'll wait, plan, come at you when you're not expecting it." Clara looked at him. "That's not as reassuring as you think it is." "Sorry, I was trying for honest." "I know, and I appreciate it. I'm tired of people telling me everything's going to be fine when we both know it might not be." "It will be eventually. Just might be messy getting there. Story of my life lately." Nathan's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Tell Clara I'm sorry. I just want to talk. That's all I've ever wanted." His blood went cold. He showed the screen to Clara. Her face went pale. "How does he have your number?" "I don't know. Must have gotten it somehow." Another text came through. You don't know her like I do. You think you're helping her, but you're just making everything worse. Then another. She always runs to someone new when things get hard. That's what she does. You're not special. You're just convenient. Clara grabbed the phone and typed back. This is Clara. Stop contacting Nathan. Stop contacting me. Leave us alone. The response was immediate. Us? So you are fucking him. I knew it. Nathan took the phone back and blocked the number. I'm calling the police. It won't matter. He'll just get another phone, another number. It still matters. It's more documentation. The police came, took the report, added it to the growing file. The officer who responded was the same one from the night before. She looked at Nathan's bruised face and Clara's exhausted expression with something like pity. The hearing for the permanent restraining order is in 2 weeks, she said. With this new contact, you've got a strong case, and the assault charge is solid. He's looking at real jail time if convicted. If, Clara said. When? The officer corrected. I've seen the evidence. It's airtight. He's going away for a while. After she left, Clara sat on Nathan's couch and stared at nothing. 2 more weeks, she said. I just have to make it 2 more weeks. We, Nathan corrected. We have to make it 2 more weeks. Clara looked at him. You keep saying that, we. Like this is your problem too. It is my problem. You made it my problem when you knocked on my door, and I don't want to unmake it. Even though it's messy and complicated and potentially dangerous? Especially because of that. I spent 3 years avoiding messy and complicated. Turns out I was just avoiding living. Clara laughed, wet and shaky. That's the most dramatic thing you've ever said to me. Yeah, well, I'm dating a CEO. I'm learning to be more assertive. We're dating now? Officially? Aren't we? Claire kissed him instead of answering. They stayed on the couch for a long time, just holding each other, neither of them willing to acknowledge how fragile this all felt. Around midnight, Clara stood up. I should go. Let you sleep. Stay. Nathan. Emma knows you're here. She likes you, and I sleep better knowing you're safe. You mean you sleep better knowing I'm not alone downstairs? Same thing. Clara hesitated, then nodded. Okay, but I'm taking the couch. We can share the bed, like adults. I'll even put a pillow barrier between us if that makes you feel better. A pillow barrier? Emma's idea, from when we had to share a hotel room once. She insisted we needed appropriate boundaries. Clara laughed. Your kid is something else. Yeah, she is. They went to Nathan's bedroom. He found Clara a t-shirt and she changed in the bathroom while he tried not to think about how domestic this all felt. How normal. How much he wanted it to be their normal. When Clara came back wearing his old college t-shirt and her own pajama pants, Nathan's heart did something stupid in his chest. What? She asked. Nothing. You look good in my clothes. That's extremely cheesy. I know, I'm working on being more romantic. Work harder. They got into bed, and true to his word, Nathan put a pillow between them. Clara looked at it like it was the saddest thing she'd ever seen. This is ridiculous, she said. You're the one who was worried about moving too fast. I changed my mind. Clara threw the pillow on the floor and moved closer. I've spent 2 months being scared and alone. Tonight I just want to feel safe. Is that okay? Nathan pulled her against him, careful of his sore ribs. Clara fit perfectly in the curve of his body, her head on his chest, one arm draped across his stomach. This is okay, he said quietly. They lay in the dark, listening to each other breathe. Outside, the city hummed with late-night traffic and distant voices. Inside, everything was still. Thank you, Clara whispered. For what? For being exactly what I needed, even when I didn't know I needed it. Nathan kissed the top of her head. Go to sleep, Clara. What if I can't? Then I'll stay awake with you. You don't have to do that. I know. But he stayed awake anyway, listening to Clara's breathing slow and even out, listening to the buildings settle around them, listening for any sound that might be a threat. Somewhere around 2 a.m, his phone buzzed with another text from a different unknown number. Enjoy her while you can. She always comes back to me eventually. Nathan deleted it without responding and held Clara tighter. 2 weeks. They just had to make it 2 more weeks. The next morning, Clara was gone when Nathan woke up. She'd left a note on the pillow, went downstairs to shower and change for work. Thank you for last night, for all the nights. I'll see you later. See, Nathan got Emma ready for school and dropped her off, fielding more questions about Clara and when she was coming back. I like when she's at our house, Emma said. It feels less lonely. We're not lonely, we have each other. That's different. It's good different when Clara's there. Nathan couldn't argue with that. Work was a blur of server issues and user complaints. Nathan went through the motions, but his mind was elsewhere. On Clara in meetings, putting on her competent CEO face while dealing with the fear underneath. On Marcus somewhere in the city, planning his next move. On the 2 weeks that stretched ahead like a minefield. His phone rang at 3 in the afternoon, Clara's name on the screen. Hey, he answered. He's at my office. Clara's voice was tight. Marcus is outside the building, just standing there, watching. Did you call the police? They're on their way. But Nathan, he's not doing anything illegal. He's on a public sidewalk. They can't arrest him for standing. He's violating the restraining order, 500 feet, remember? He's at 510 feet. I measured on my phone. He knows exactly where the line is. Nathan felt rage build in his chest. Where are you? In my office. I can see him from the window. Don't go outside. Wait for the police. I know. I wanted to hear your voice, to feel less alone. You're not alone. I'm right here. You're at work, 20 minutes away. Then I'll leave work. I'll be there in 15. Nathan, you can't keep leaving work for me. You'll lose your job. I don't care. I care. You have Emma to support. You can't. Clara, I'm coming. Stay inside. He hung up and grabbed his coat. His supervisor started to protest, but Nathan was already out the door. Traffic was terrible. Every red light felt like a personal attack. Nathan gripped the steering wheel and watched the minutes tick by on the dashboard clock. When he finally pulled up to Clara's building, he saw Marcus immediately. Standing across the street, phone in hand, watching the entrance with patient intensity. Nathan parked and got out. Marcus saw him and smiled. The hero arrives, Marcus called across the street. Come to rescue your girlfriend? Nathan crossed the street, stopping just outside arm's reach. Leave her alone. I'm not doing anything, just standing here, on a public sidewalk. That's not illegal. You're violating a restraining order. Actually, I'm not. 510 feet, I measured. I'm following the rules. Marcus's smile widened. Unlike you, apparently. That's quite a bruise on your jaw. I hope you're not planning to press charges, because I have a very good lawyer who will argue self-defense. You attacked me. Did I? Or did you insert yourself into a private matter between me and Clara, a matter that had nothing to do with you? 2 police cars pulled up before Nathan could respond. Marcus immediately put his hands up, cooperative and calm. Officers, I'm not causing any trouble, just waiting for someone. One of the officers checked the restraining order on his tablet, measured the distance with an app, looked at Marcus with barely concealed frustration. You're technically in compliance, the officer said, but you need to move on. Loitering with intent to intimidate is still harassment. I'm not intimidating anyone. I'm standing on a sidewalk. Sir, it's fine. Clara's voice cut across the sidewalk. She was standing in the building entrance, her assistant hovering nervously behind her. Let him stand there. Let everyone see what kind of person he is. She pulled out her phone and took a photo of Marcus on the sidewalk, then another, then a video. What are you doing? Marcus asked. Documenting, since that's what everyone keeps telling me to do. Smile for the camera, Marcus. Let's show the judge exactly how you're technically following the restraining order while violating the spirit of it. Marcus's confident expression faltered. Clara kept recording, narrating for the video. This is Marcus Torrance. It's 3:15 on a Thursday afternoon. He's standing outside my workplace, 500 feet away as measured, watching my building. This is the 4th time this week he's done this. The police have been called. He's done nothing technically illegal, but he's making sure I know he's watching, that I'm never safe, that he can find me wherever I go. Clara, stop. Why? You wanted to talk, right? That's what you always say. So let's talk. Let's tell everyone watching this video about the time you went through my phone while I was sleeping, or the time you showed up at my parents' house uninvited, or the time you told me I was worthless without you. That's not... I never said that. You said it was my fault you couldn't trust me. That if I hadn't given you reasons to be jealous, you wouldn't have to check my location constantly. That if I really loved you, I'd understand why you needed to know where I was every second of every day. Marcus's face went red. You're twisting everything. Am I? Because I have texts, voicemails, emails, all of it saved, all of it showing exactly who you are. The police officers looked between them uncomfortably. Nathan stayed silent, letting Clara have this moment, letting her take back some of the power Marcus had stolen. You need to leave, sir, one of the officers finally said to Marcus. Now, or we'll find a reason to arrest you. Marcus looked at Clara, at Nathan, at the phone still recording. Something in his face shifted, rage giving way to calculation. This isn't over, he said quietly. Yes, it is, Clara replied. You just haven't accepted it yet. Marcus walked away, disappearing around the corner. The police waited until he was out of sight before approaching Clara. That was brave, one of them said, and stupid. Don't antagonize him. It'll only make things worse. How much worse can it get? Clara asked. He's already made my life hell. At least this way, I'm fighting back. After the police left, Nathan pulled Clara into a hug. She was shaking, adrenaline draining away and leaving exhaustion in its wake. That was... Nathan started. Stupid. I know. The officer said so. I was going to say impressive. Clara laughed into his chest. I'm so tired of being scared. I just wanted, I don't know, to feel like I had some control. You do have control. You're the one who decides how this ends. Am I? Because it feels like Marcus is the one making all the choices. I'm just reacting. Nathan pulled back to look at her. You chose to leave him. You chose to file reports. You chose to stand up to him just now. Those are all choices. They all matter. Clara nodded, but Nathan could see the doubt in her eyes. The weight of 2 months of fear and harassment pressing down on her. Come on, he said. I'm taking you home. I have work. Work can wait. You need a break. I can't just leave. I'm the CEO. I have responsibilities. And you're also a person who just confronted her abuser on a public street. Give yourself permission to not be okay for 5 minutes. Clara looked like she might argue. Then she deflated. Okay, 5 minutes. They went back to the building and up to Nathan's apartment. Emma wouldn't be home for another 3 hours, and the silence felt strange and heavy. Clara sat on the couch and put her head in her hands. I don't know how to do this anymore. Do what? Keep fighting. Keep being strong. Keep pretending I'm fine when I'm not. Nathan sat beside her. Then don't pretend. Not with me. If I stop pretending, I'll fall apart. Then fall apart. I'll catch you. Clara looked at him, eyes bright with unshed tears. You can't promise that. Watch me. She kissed him desperately, like she was drowning, and he was air. Nathan kissed her back, letting her take what she needed, giving what he could. When they finally broke apart, Clara was crying. Real tears, the kind she'd been holding back for weeks. I'm so scared, she whispered. All the time. Even when he's not there, I'm scared. Scared he'll show up. Scared he'll hurt someone I care about. Scared that this will never end. It will end 2 more weeks. The hearing, the trial, all of it. And then he's gone. What if he's not? What if he gets off? What if... He won't. The evidence is too strong. You don't know that. No, but I believe it. And sometimes belief is enough. Clara rested her head on his shoulder, and they sat like that until the tears stopped. Until her breathing evened out. Until the fear receded enough that she could function again. I should go back to work, she finally said. You should rest. I can't. If I stop moving, I'll think too much. Nathan understood that. He'd spent 3 years moving, filling his life with work and Emma and routine, so he didn't have to think about how lonely he was. Okay, he said, but text me when you get there, and when you leave, and if anything feels off. I will, I promise. She kissed him once more, soft and sweet, then left, Nathan sat in his empty apartment and thought about how much had changed in 2 months, how his careful, predictable life had become anything but. His phone buzzed, Clara texting from the car. "Thank you for catching me." "Any time," he replied. And he meant it. The worst night came 11 days before the hearing. Nathan woke to pounding so violent the entire building seemed to shake. Not on his door this time. Below him. Clara's apartment. The sound of fists against wood, relentless and furious, accompanied by a voice Nathan had come to hate. "Open the door! Clara, I know you're in there. We need to talk. You can't hide from me forever." Nathan was out of bed before his brain fully caught up. He grabbed his phone, already dialing 911, and ran to Emma's room. She was sitting up in bed, eyes wide and frightened. "Stay here," he told her. "Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone but me. Understand?" "Dad, what's happening?" "Just stay here. I'll be right back." He waited until he heard the lock click, then headed downstairs. The pounding continued, each impact making Nathan's pulse spike higher. Other doors were opening now, neighbors peering out, phones already in hand. When Nathan reached the 4th floor, Marcus was there in all his rage, slamming both fists against Clara's door, screaming words that barely made sense anymore. His shirt was untucked, his hair wild, and Nathan could smell alcohol from 10 feet away. "Police are on the way," Nathan said, already recording. "You need to leave." Marcus spun around. His eyes were red-rimmed and unfocused, drunk or high or both. "You," he spat. "This is your fault. All of it. She was fine until you. She was never fine with you. She was scared." "Scared? I loved her. I gave her everything. You gave her nightmares and anxiety and a restraining order." Marcus lunged. Nathan barely dodged, his phone clattering to the floor but still recording. Marcus swung wild, catching Nathan's shoulder. Pain exploded down his arm, but Nathan pushed back, using his weight to pin Marcus against the opposite wall. "Stop," Nathan said through gritted teeth. "Just stop." "I can't stop. Don't you understand? I can't just turn it off. I love her." "That's not love. That's obsession." Marcus fought harder, fueled by whatever chemical courage was in his system. They crashed into the hallway wall, then the floor. Nathan tasted blood. His lip had split open again, but he held on. Just had to hold on until the police arrived. Clara's door opened. "Get off him!" she screamed at Nathan. "You're going to hurt him." Nathan looked at her in disbelief. "Clara, let him go, please!" Nathan loosened his grip, confused. Marcus used the moment to throw him off, scrambling to his feet. "Clara," Marcus said, breathing hard. "Clara, please, just talk to me. That's all I want, just 5 minutes." Clara stood in her doorway, shaking. Nathan couldn't read her expression. Fear, yes, but something else too. Something that made his stomach turn. 5 minutes, she said quietly, "and then you leave." "What?" Nathan pushed himself up. "Clara, don't. It's okay, Nathan. I can handle this." "No, you can't. He's drunk. He's violent. He just—" "I said I can handle it." Clara's voice was sharp. "This is between me and Marcus. You should go check on Emma." Nathan stared at her, at the woman he'd been protecting for 2 months, the woman who'd cried in his arms just days ago, terrified and broken. "Are you serious right now?" "I'm serious. Go home, Nathan." Marcus smiled, triumphant and ugly. "Yeah, Nathan, go home. This doesn't concern you." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Clara looked at Marcus. "You have until the police get here, then you leave. Understand?" "I understand. Thank you. Thank you for listening." Clara stepped back into her apartment. Marcus followed. The door closed behind them. Nathan stood in the hallway, bleeding and confused and feeling like the world had just tilted sideways. The other neighbors were staring at him with pity and confusion. He picked up his phone from where it had fallen. Still recording. He stopped it and stood there for a long moment, trying to process what had just happened. Then he went back upstairs. Emma was waiting by the door, anxious. "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, sweetheart, everything's fine. Go back to bed." "You're bleeding again." "I know, I'll clean it up. Go on." After Emma was settled, though not sleeping, Nathan could tell. He sat on his couch and stared at his phone, at the video he'd just recorded. Marcus attacking him. Clara telling him to let Marcus go. Clara inviting Marcus inside. What the hell was she thinking? His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. I'm sorry. I had to. Had to what? Let your abuser into your apartment? I needed to talk to him, to end this for real. That's not how this works. You don't negotiate with someone who's been terrorizing you for months. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. No response. Nathan waited. The police must have arrived by now. He could hear voices below, muffled through the floor, footsteps in the hallway, doors opening and closing. 20 minutes passed, then 30. Finally, a knock on his door. Nathan opened it to find 2 police officers, the same ones who'd responded the night Marcus was arrested. Mr. Cole, can we come in? What happened? Is Clara okay? Miss Bennett is fine. She asked us to check on you, said there was an altercation. Nathan let them in, gave his statement, showed them the video. The officers exchanged glances. Ms. Bennett says Mr. Torrance came to apologize, that things got heated between you two, but that she's not pressing charges. Nathan's jaw dropped. She's not. He violated a restraining order. He assaulted me. You have it on video. We understand, but without Ms. Bennett's cooperation and with her statement that she invited him in, the restraining order violation is murky. As for the assault, do you want to press charges? Nathan thought about it. About Marcus getting arrested again. About bail and trials and the whole mess getting even more complicated. About Clara telling him this didn't concern him. No, he said finally. No charges. After the officers left, Nathan sat in his dark living room and tried to make sense of it. Tried to find an explanation that didn't involve Clara choosing Marcus over safety. Over him. His phone buzzed. Can we talk? Tomorrow? He didn't respond. Morning came gray and cold. Emma was unusually quiet over breakfast, picking at her cereal. Is the lady friend okay? She asked. I don't know. Are you okay? I don't know that either. Emma studied him with those too perceptive 6-year-old eyes. Mom was right. You do make bad choices in relationships. Nathan couldn't even argue. He dropped Emma at school and went to work, going through the motions while his mind spun. Around 10, Clara called. He let it go to voicemail. She called again at noon, again at 2. Finally, at 4, she texted. I know you're angry. You have every right to be, but please let me explain, please. Nathan stared at the message for a long time. Then he typed, I'll be home at 6. You can explain then. When he got back to the apartment, Clara was waiting in the hallway. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept. Her eyes were red from crying. Thank you for seeing me, she said. Nathan unlocked his door and let her in without a word. Emma was at Rachel's for the night, his regular custody day, so they had the apartment to themselves. Talk, Nathan said. Clara sat on the couch, hands twisted in her lap. Last night, when Marcus was at my door, I knew if I didn't let him in, he'd keep escalating, that someone would get hurt, you or him or me or an innocent neighbor, so I made a choice. You chose to let him in. I chose to end it, on my terms. By talking to him? Clara, you can't reason with someone like that. I didn't reason with him. I recorded him. Clara pulled out her phone and played a video. Marcus in her apartment, pacing and ranting, saying things that made Nathan's blood run cold. I can't live without you. If I can't have you, nobody can. You understand that, right? You made me this way. You made me crazy. If you try to leave again, I'll make sure you regret it. I know where you work, where your parents live, where your friends are. You can't hide from me. I've been patient. I've tried to be understanding. But my patience is running out, Clara. You're mine. You've always been mine. The video ended. Clara looked at Nathan with hollow eyes. I needed him to say it, out loud, on camera, where there's no ambiguity, no way for his lawyer to twist it into something else. I needed proof that he's not just a heartbroken ex-boyfriend, that he's dangerous. Nathan felt something cold settle in his chest. You used yourself as bait. I used myself as evidence. You could have been killed. I know, but I wasn't, and now I have this. Clara held up her phone. My lawyer says with this recording, the permanent restraining order is guaranteed, and the DA is adding stalking and terroristic threats to the assault charges. Marcus is looking at real prison time. Not months. Years. Nathan wanted to be relieved, wanted to focus on the fact that Clara had gotten what she needed. But all he could think about was her standing in that apartment alone with Marcus, recording his threats while Nathan stood in the hallway, bleeding and confused. "You should have told me," he said. "I couldn't. You would have tried to stop me. Because it was reckless and dangerous, and it worked." Claire's voice went sharp. "I'm sorry I scared you. I'm sorry I made you feel like I was choosing him over you, but I was choosing myself, my safety, my future. I was taking control of a situation where I'd had none for months. By putting yourself in danger, by being smart about the danger I was already in. Marcus wasn't going to stop, Nathan, not with restraining orders or police reports or any of it. He was going to keep escalating until something broke. So I made sure what broke was his case against him, not my life." Nathan sat down heavily. His hands were shaking. "When I saw you let him in, when you told me to leave, I thought, I know what you thought, and I'm sorry. But I couldn't tell you the truth in that moment. Marcus had to believe I was capitulating, that I was finally giving in, otherwise he wouldn't have said any of it. You could have died, Clara. I've been dying slowly for 2 months. At least this way I was fighting back." They sat in silence. Nathan's mind was racing, trying to reconcile the woman in front of him with the terrified person who'd knocked on his door at 3 a.m, trying to understand how both could be true. "The hearing is in 3 days, Clara said quietly. "With this recording, my lawyer says Marcus will probably take a plea deal, avoid trial, accept the restraining order and the jail time in exchange for a lesser sentence. And if he doesn't, then we go to trial, and we win. Either way, this ends." "Does it? Because even with Marcus in prison, you're still—" Nathan gestured helplessly. "You're still dealing with the aftermath. The fear. The trust issues. All of it. I know, and I'll work on it. Therapy, probably, time. All the things people do to heal from trauma." Clara looked at him. "But I need to know, are you still willing to be part of that? Or did last night ruin whatever we were building?" Nathan thought about it. About Rachel's warnings that he was attracted to broken things. About his own pattern of playing hero instead of partner. About how terrified he'd been when Clara's door closed with Marcus inside. "I don't know, Ian," he said honestly. "Last night showed me how little control I have over any of this. How at any moment you could make a choice that puts you in danger and I'd just have to watch. That's what relationships are. Watching people you care about make choices you disagree with and trusting they know what they're doing. But you're not just making choices about what to have for dinner or whether to take a new job. You're making choices about your physical safety. And they're my choices to make, not yours, no matter how much you care about me." Clara's voice softened. "I know you want to protect me, and I love that about you. But I don't need a protector, Nathan. I need a partner, someone who trusts me to handle my own life, even when it's scary." Nathan rubbed his face. "I don't know if I can do that. Watch you walk into danger and just trust it'll be okay. Then maybe we're not right for each other, because I can't be with someone who needs me to be helpless to feel useful." The words hit like a punch. Nathan started to argue, then stopped. Because wasn't that what Rachel had said? That he was attracted to broken things he could fix? "I don't need you to be helpless," he said. "Don't you?" "Think about it, Nathan. When did you start pulling away from your marriage? When did it start falling apart? When Rachel had the affair? Before that? When did you stop feeling needed?" Nathan thought back to the fights about him working too much, about him being emotionally distant, about Rachel feeling like a project he'd completed instead of a partner he chose every day. "When Emma got older," he said slowly. "When Rachel went back to work. When they didn't need me the same way anymore. And then you divorced. And then you built a life around being needed, being the stable parent, the reliable employee, the helpful neighbor." Clara leaned forward. "I don't blame you for that. We all cope in our own ways, but you need to ask yourself, do you actually care about me? Or do you care about being the person who saves me?" Nathan felt something crack open in his chest. "I care about you, I know I do." "Then prove it, not by protecting me. by trusting me, by believing I'm strong enough to handle my own life. What if you're not? What if you make the wrong choice and it gets you killed? Then that's on me, not you. You don't get to carry that responsibility. They stared at each other. Nathan felt like he was standing at a crossroads, and whichever path he chose would define everything that came after. I'm scared, he admitted, of losing you, of watching you get hurt, of not being enough. I'm scared too, of trusting someone again, of letting you in just to have you try to control me like Marcus did. I would never, not the same way. But control comes in many forms. Protection can be control. Worry can be control. Love can definitely be control if you're not careful. Nathan thought about Marcus's words on the video. You're mine. You've always been mine. He thought about his own need to know where Clara was, to check in constantly, to insert himself into situations whether she wanted him there or not. The difference was consent. Clara had asked for his help, had wanted his presence, but the underlying need to be necessary, to be the hero, was the same. I don't know how to just let go, Nathan said. Let you handle things without trying to fix them. You start by asking what I need instead of assuming, by listening when I say I've got it handled, by being there when I actually need you instead of hovering when I don't. That sounds harder than just fixing things. Clara smiled sadly. It is, but it's also what makes a relationship work. Partnership instead of rescue. Nathan's phone buzzed, a text from Emma via Rachel's phone. Did you and the lady friend break up? Mom says you probably did. I hope you didn't. I really like her. He showed Clara the text. She laughed, wet and shaky. Smart kid. Too smart. What are you going to tell her? I don't know. What is happening with us? Clara stood up. I think we need some space to figure out what we actually want from each other. Not what we need, but what we want. Space meaning what? We don't talk? Space meaning we don't default to our usual patterns. You don't automatically try to fix my problems. I don't automatically lean on you for safety. We just exist separately for a bit. See what's left when the crisis is over. Nathan hated the idea, but he also knew she was right. How long? Until after the hearing. Until Marcus is dealt with and I can think clearly again, then we can figure out if this is real or just trauma bonding. It's real, Nathan said. At least for me. I hope so, but hoping isn't enough. We need to know. Clara kissed him once, soft and final. Then she left. Nathan sat in his empty apartment and felt the absence like a physical thing. The next 3 days were strange. Nathan saw Clara in passing, in the parking garage, in the elevator once, but they didn't talk beyond polite nods. He wanted to text her, to check in, to make sure she was okay, but every time he picked up his phone, he remembered her words. Ask what I need instead of assuming. So he didn't text, didn't call, didn't knock on her door at night to make sure she was safe. It was the hardest thing he'd done in months. Emma noticed immediately. You're sad again. Did you and Clara break up? We're taking a break. Why? Because sometimes people need space to figure things out. That's dumb. You like her. She likes you. What else is there to figure out? It's more complicated than that, sweetheart. Everything's complicated with adults, Emma said, echoing her earlier frustration. You make simple things hard on purpose. Maybe she was right. The hearing came on a gray Tuesday morning. Nathan didn't go. Clara hadn't asked him to, and he was trying to respect boundaries. Instead, he went to work and checked his phone every 5 minutes. At 11, Clara texted, It's done. Marcus accepted a plea deal. 2 years in prison, permanent restraining order, mandatory counseling. He's going away. Nathan stared at the message. 2 years. It seemed like both too much and not enough. How do you feel? He replied. Relieved, exhausted, free. A pause, then. Scared of what comes next. What does come next? I don't know. That's what scares me. Nathan wanted to offer answers, solutions, a plan to move forward, but he was learning slowly, painfully, that Clara didn't need him to have the answers. You'll figure it out, he sent instead. You're good at that. Thank you for everything, Even when I pushed you away. Anytime. That night, Nathan got a call from Gerald, the landlord. Mr. Cole, I wanted to inform you that Ms. Bennett has given notice. She's moving out at the end of the month. Nathan's stomach dropped. She's leaving? Yes. She said she needs a fresh start. Somewhere without... Gerald cleared his throat awkwardly. Without reminders. After he hung up, Nathan sat very still. Clara was leaving, moving out of the building, out of his daily life. He'd known it was a possibility, had even thought it might be for the best, but knowing and feeling were different things. His phone buzzed. Clara, I assume Gerald called you. Yeah. I'm sorry for not telling you myself. I only decided today. It's okay. You need to do what's right for you. Do you think we could talk? Before I go? Of course. When? Tomorrow? After I finish work, I could come up around 7. I'll be here. Nathan spent the next day anxious and distracted. Emma was with Rachel for the week, which meant the apartment was quiet and lonely. He cleaned compulsively, trying to give his hands something to do while his mind raced. Clara knocked at 7 exactly. She looked different, lighter somehow, like a weight had lifted. Her hair was down, and she wore jeans and a sweater instead of her usual work clothes. Casual, relaxed. Hi, she said. Hi, come in. They sat at the kitchen table like they had that first night. Nathan made coffee, still terrible, and they both pretended to drink it. I'm moving to a loft downtown, Clara said. Closer to work. Better security. A doorman who actually pays attention. That sounds good. It is good. It's what I need right now. A place that's completely mine. No history, no fear. I understand. Clara set down her mug. I've been thinking a lot about what I said, about space and figuring things out. And I realized something. What? That I don't want to figure it out alone. I want to figure it out with you. Nathan's breath caught. Clara, I'm not saying I'm ready for a relationship, not a traditional one anyway. I still need time to heal, to work through everything that happened, but I don't want to lose you while I do that. What are you saying? I'm saying, can we try being friends? Real friends. Not friends who kiss sometimes or friends defined by crisis. Just two people who care about each other and want to be in each other's lives. Nathan thought about it, about his pattern of needing to be needed, about Clara's need to stand on her own. I'd like that, he said. But I need to be honest. I still have feelings for you, feelings that aren't going to just disappear because we're calling ourselves friends. I have feelings for you too, but I need to figure out which feelings are real and which ones are just gratitude, trauma, the safety you represented when I needed it most. That's fair? So we take it slow, we spend time together, we get to know each other outside of crisis mode, and we see what happens. No expectations? No expectations, just possibility. Nathan held out his hand. Clara took it, and they shook like they were sealing a business deal. Then they both laughed at the absurdity. This is weird, Clara said. Yeah, but good weird? Good weird. They spent the evening talking about normal things. Clara's new apartment, Nathan's upcoming performance review at work, Emma's latest dinosaur obsession, the kind of conversation two people have when they're getting to know each other for the first time. Around 10, Clara stood to leave. Thank you, she said, for understanding, for not making this harder than it needs to be. Thank you for being honest about what you need. At the door, Clara hesitated. Can I ask you something? Sure. What made you open the door that first night? When I knocked at 3 a.m, you didn't know me. You had every reason to turn me away. Nathan thought back to that moment, standing in his dark apartment, looking through the peephole at a stranger who needed help. Because someone needed to, he said. And I was tired of being the kind of person who looked away. Clara smiled. I'm glad you opened the door. Me too. She left, and Nathan stood in his apartment feeling something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not relief exactly. Not happiness. Something quieter. Something like hope. The next 3 weeks passed quickly. Clara moved into her new loft, and Nathan helped carry boxes. Emma came along, narrating the entire process and declaring Clara's new place way cooler than ours, Dad. They fell into a routine. Coffee on Saturdays while Emma was at her art class. Occasional dinners when their schedules aligned. Texts about random things, funny work stories, articles they'd read, complaints about traffic. It felt normal, easy, like they'd been friends for years instead of months. Nathan noticed himself changing, catching his protective instincts before they kicked in, asking Clara what she needed instead of assuming, listening when she said she had things handled. It was harder than he'd expected, but also freeing, like he'd been holding his breath for 3 years and was finally learning to exhale. One Saturday morning, 6 weeks after Clara moved out, Nathan's doorbell rang. He opened it to find Clara standing there with coffee and pastries. "Emma told me you like the chocolate croissants from that bakery on 5th, she said. "So I brought breakfast." Tamantikam. Emma appeared from her bedroom, hair wild from sleep. "Clara, did you bring dinosaur cookies?" "I brought regular cookies, but I can pretend they're dinosaur-shaped if that helps." "It helps a little." They ate breakfast together, Emma monopolizing the conversation with facts about pterodactyls. Nathan watched Clara engage with his daughter, asking questions, laughing at the right moments, taking Emma seriously, and felt something settle in his chest. After Emma wandered off to play, Clara turned to Nathan. "I've been doing a lot of therapy," she said. "Yeah?" "Yeah, working through the Marcus stuff, but also other things. Patterns I've had since I was a kid, ways I give away my power without realizing it." "That sounds hard." "It is. But it's also helping me understand something." "What's that?" Clara took his hand. "I've spent 6 weeks trying to figure out if my feelings for you are real or just trauma, and I finally have my answer." Nathan's heart started pounding. "And?" "They're real, complicated and messy, and definitely real." Clara smiled. "I don't just care about you because you helped me. I care about you because you're kind and patient, and you make terrible coffee. Because you let your daughter teach you about dinosaurs even though you clearly don't care. Because you're trying so hard to be better than you were." "Clara, I'm not saying I'm ready for everything. I'm still working through a lot. But I'm ready to try. If you still want to." Nathan pulled her close, careful and deliberate. "I want to. But I need you to know I'm still figuring things out too. Still learning how to be a partner instead of a protector. I'm gonna mess up sometimes." "I know. I'll mess up too. We'll figure it out together." "Together," Nathan echoed. He kissed her, and it felt different than before. Less desperate, more certain, like they'd both chosen this instead of falling into it. Emma's voice came from her bedroom. "Are you guys kissing?" "Because that's gross, but also good because it means you're back together." Clara laughed against Nathan's lips. "Your daughter has excellent hearing and terrible timing." "I heard that," Emma yelled. They pulled apart, grinning like idiots. Nathan felt lighter than he had in years. Not because all the problems were solved, they weren't. Not because everything was perfect, it definitely wasn't. But because for the first time since his divorce, he was choosing someone, and someone was choosing him back. Not because either of them needed to be saved, but because they wanted to build something together. 6 months later, Nathan stood in Clara's loft helping her hang pictures. Emma was on the floor building an elaborate dinosaur habitat out of couch cushions. "A little to the left," Clara directed. "No, too much. Back to the right." "You're terrible at this," Nathan said. "And yet you keep helping anyway." "That's because I'm a good boyfriend." "The best boyfriend," Clara corrected. Emma looked up from her cushioned fort. "Can we get pizza for dinner? Clara's fancy adult food is boring." "My fancy adult food is called a salad, Emma." "Exactly. Boring." Clara laughed and conceded to pizza. While Nathan called in the order, she sat on the couch and watched Emma explain the complex social hierarchy of her dinosaur world. "You're good with her," Nathan said after he hung up. "She makes it easy. She's a great kid. She likes you, asked me last week if you were going to be her stepmom someday." Clara's eyes widened. "What did you tell her?" "That we're taking things one day at a time, but that I hoped so." "Nathan Cole, was that a proposal?" "Not yet, but someday, if you want." Clara pulled him down onto the couch. "Ask me again in a year." "Deal." They sat together, Emma's narration providing background noise, and Nathan thought about how far they'd both come. From that first desperate knock at 3 in the morning to this quiet Saturday evening. From fear and crisis to something that felt like home. It hadn't been easy. There'd been setbacks and arguments and moments where Nathan had to physically stop himself from falling into old patterns. Moments where Clara had to remind him that she was capable of handling her own life. But they'd made it work. One difficult conversation at a time. One choice at a time. One day at a time. The pizza arrived and they ate on the floor with Emma, who declared it the best meal they'd ever had. After dinner, they watched a nature documentary about dinosaurs, Emma's choice, and she fell asleep between them before it ended. Nathan carried his daughter to Clara's guest room, which they'd set up with a bed and some of Emma's things for nights like this. When he came back, Clara was cleaning up pizza boxes. "Leave it," Nathan said. "Come here." Clara came and he pulled her close, swaying slightly to music that wasn't playing. "What are we doing?" she asked. "Dancing, or trying to. There's no music. Use your imagination." Clara laughed and rested her head on his chest. They moved slowly around the living room, clumsy and imperfect. "I love you," Nathan said quietly. Clara pulled back to look at him. "I love you too, even though you have terrible rhythm. I have excellent rhythm, you're just hard to lead. Maybe I don't want to be led. Then lead me." So she did. Clara took the lead and Nathan followed, and they danced in her loft under the soft glow of lamps, building something new together. Something that wasn't about rescue or need or crisis. Something that was just about choice. And that, Nathan thought, was worth every difficult moment it had taken to get here. The documentary ended and the apartment fell quiet except for their breathing and the distant sounds of the city. Nathan held Clara and thought about all the ways life could surprise you. How opening a door at 3 in the morning could change everything. How sometimes the scariest moments led to the best things. How being needed and being wanted weren't the same thing, but both could be gifts if you let them. Emma stirred in the guest room, mumbling something about velociraptors. Clara smiled against Nathan's chest. "We should probably get some sleep," she said. "Probably." But they stayed there a little longer, swaying in the quiet, building their new normal one moment at a time. And when they finally went to bed, Clara's bed, together, both of them choosing it, Nathan fell asleep thinking about the future for the first time in years. Not with fear or anxiety or the weight of responsibility, but with something simpler. Hope. The kind of hope that came from knowing that whatever came next, they'd face it together. Not because either of them needed saving, but because they'd chosen each other, imperfections and all, and decided that was enough. More than enough. It was everything part,